Congratulations, everyone. Y'all made it to 2025. First, I wouldn't even really say it the first full week of 2025. Next week will be the first full week of 2025. Yeah, so today we're going to be diving into goal setting for 2025. I had a lot of one-on-one calls in the last week and a half where people came to me with the whole like goal setting, how to set goals for 2025. And I think out the probably 4 or 5 calls I had one-on-one with these particular individuals, their minds were like in shock after the call. And I thought this would be a really good call for today. I don't do too many mindset calls or anything outside of like Facebook ads and all this other stuff, but I definitely think just time of the year and, you know, trying to give you guys everything that I wish I knew when I was getting started, not just from a Facebook ad perspective, but just from a personal, like crushing life perspective. And I thought today would be a really good call to dive into that. Posted in the Telegram group, and I think like literally like 20 of y'all voted like, hell yeah, y'all want to see this. And I think like maybe one person declined it. So sorry for the one person declined it, but today we're diving into 2025 goal setting. And this is going to be what I call the master guide on winning at life in 2025, making as much money as you desire while living a fulfilled life. And what I literally said earlier, this is what I would call the slap me when I was younger and pay attention lesson, because there was a lot of lessons in here that when I was first getting started that I just felt like didn't apply to me, or maybe it didn't apply to me. When you're first getting started, you consume so much information at once. You don't know where to prioritize some of those things. There's certain lessons you learn and they're like extremely important, but you prioritize them down here because, you know, maybe you just heard it from a podcast. And when you pay for something, you're going to prioritize it way higher. But because it was like a free podcast, you're just like, oh yeah, no, it's free, it's whatever. That's why like a lot of the information you guys prioritize from this group, you actually take action because you want an ROI on it. So anyway, this is the slap me when I was younger, pay attention lesson for y'all for 2025 goal setting. And we're going to start off with where 90% of people fuck up at when setting goals. I can't tell y'all how many times like I sat down at the beginning of a new year. Like I remember I used to sit down for like almost probably a day just thinking about the new year. You know, I want to accomplish all of these things, boom, 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 like a 2-page document. I couldn't even tell you what I wrote half of that, like the next day. And about a month later, like literally none of that I even took action on. None of that, almost none of that I even remembered writing down. And it just kind of like would fall through. And I'm sure a lot of y'all have set goals before the beginning of the year. And at least with a few people I had a one-on-one call with, they're like, I would set goals at the beginning of the year and none of them would ever get accomplished. And that's where I really want to dive into today is why the fuck don't those goals get accomplished? And what can you do to ensure those goals get accomplished? And also too, we're going to widen your perspective a little bit too today. Like I said, this is going to be serious treat for y'all. And if y'all actually pay attention to this, I mean, I can't guarantee y'all make y'all money, but I can promise you it's gonna make you a fuckload more money and just overall fulfillment in life as well. So the first thing we're gonna talk about again, why 90% of people fuck up when setting goals is because this is how they set their goals. I want to make 100K a month. And they only focus on making that 100K a month. That's it. And what ultimately happens, like we have mentioned earlier, you just never hit that goal. You know, I want to do a marathon this year. I want to travel all over the world. Like you set these big goals, but they never happen. Why? Because you don't focus on the actions that are needed to hit that goal. When you set the goal and you just prioritize the goal, but you actually don't break down that goal in terms of actions you need to hit that daily, then you just never hit it. You know, it's like if you go to the gym and you want to get a shredded 6-pack in the next 3 months because it's a new year, new me, I want to lose the holiday weight and stuff like that. And all you think about is getting a shredded 6-pack, but you actually don't do the work of breaking it down to the actions you need to take to get that. Hey, I need to do a caloric deficit. I need to hit X number of cardio. I need to hit X number of weekly weightlifting sessions and stuff like that. And then when you do that, you prioritize those actions. And when you prioritize those actions, the goal just happens. There's no, oh, questionable whether or not the goal will happen or not. The goal just happens. It's a byproduct of your action, is what I call it. So, for example, if I wanted to do $100,000 in a month, then I need to be prioritizing research. I need to be prioritizing creating new ads. I need to prioritize testing new landing pages, testing new offers, improving my LTV. These are the things you need to prioritize, not this, because this doesn't give you prioritizing this and just looking at that goal all month. It doesn't give you actionable steps. And that's where these key things come in through. So that's why, like for me, I'll prioritize, getting in 2 or 3 new ads in the ad account every week. And I've been able to follow that now for about 3 years. Whereas I see some people jump in the group, they prioritize that for about a week of like 40, 50 ads in a week, and then they just, boom, they're done. And like, they give up on that particular action right there. So for me, it's like, I want to prioritize those key actions that I can do over a long period of time that, again, is just going to make the goal happen. So that's the first thing we'll be diving into, is what are those key actions? Now, before we can actually dive into those particular key actions, we're also going to zoom out here for a second, because we also need to swap how we're thinking. We're thinking too much in terms of goal, but we don't think about the vision. And this is where a lot of people start to mess up at. And we're going to start diving into a little bit more of what I said earlier about not just making a lot of money, but also living a fulfilled life, because that's the other half of it right there. We want to make a lot of money, but we also don't want to be miserable. And we also want to start doing some of that longer term thinking. So what a lot of people do wrong, and even me too, is they get started. This kind of reminds me back of like when I was like 18 years old, kind of just started my first business at that time. I'm 28 years old now, for those who are wondering. So I've been self-employed now for about a decade. And when I would first start it, new year, new me, I'd set a goal, and that was it. That goal was just for that year. That's all I would look at. I wouldn't look at anything longer than that year, or realistically anything shorter. Just be like, boom, this is where I want to be at the end of the year. And then ultimately what happens is you accomplish that thing, at least not everyone, but some people accomplish that thing. And then guess what? The next year, it's like, well, I don't really know what to do. I accomplished that goal. And we see that all the time, especially too, I see this all the time on specifically money Twitter, for any of y'all who are like money Twitter and stuff like that, where it's like these 17, 18-year-olds, even 19-year-olds that like make a fuckload off of money, off like crypto, Bitcoin. They might make some decent money from drop shipping and stuff. Then like they move to Miami, and then like a year later, they're depressed and like talking about like mental health and all this stuff like that on like Twitter and stuff like that. And it took me a long time to understand why. And that's because you're your happiest when you're in pursuit of that goal. And when you stop pursuing that goal and remove almost that purpose in your life at that time, because this goal gives you purpose in your life, a sense of purpose. And those particular actions you are doing on a day-to-day basis, these are the things that you actually enjoy doing. Like for me, like I enjoy posting content every week. I enjoy hopping on one-on-one calls with y'all. I enjoy doing this fucking call with y'all today. Like these are fun things I enjoy. And I don't really have like an end goal for it, because, there is no like technically end goal for it. I do this purely out of enjoyment and stuff like that. And if I only had a 1-year goal, hey, I'm gonna do this for a year, then boom, and I remove this thing out of my life because I hit a financial goal, right? Hey, I finally bought a supercar, things like that. I'm done. Then I'll just be sad. I won't really have a sense of purpose and a sense of like actual achievement of anything right there. And then this is where typically you'll start falling for the negative habits, because when you don't have something positive to replace a positive habit, then you start to fall into negative habits. So, the 3 hours every day I do on calls, one-on-one calls with y'all, if I would just stop this program, what do I do that 3 hours? If I don't have something positive to replace with it, I'd probably replace it with something negative. So that's also something else that we have to look at. And what'll happen is people will do this over and over and over. Eventually you'll start to find a new goal, you'll crush it, then back again. And it just go over and over and over. And then once you turn to the age of, whenever you choose, you want to actively retire and, you have the opportunity to not have to work for active income. And, that might be 50 years old for some of y'all. Some of y'all that might be 40 years old. Some of y'all that might be 35 years old. At 35 years old, you want the opportunity to not have to work for income. Again, not necessarily retire, but hey, if I want to take off and maybe instead of working 8 hours a day, I only want to work an hour a day, you have that opportunity. And what will happen here is a lot of people will keep going this 1 year little sprints and they never look up at the longer term picture. And that's our goal for today is how do we start looking at and opening up that next 20-year goal, that longer term vision. I'm 28 years old right now. 20 years from now, I'll be 48. At 48 years old, what type of life and quality of life do I want? That's going to determine my actions today. This is why New Year's came around. And like I said, I had a lot of one-on-one calls with people and they're like asking me about like my traits for like, how do I set goals for the year and everything like that. I didn't have realistically any like sit down and work on my New Year's goals because I don't quote unquote have a New Year's goal. I have a 20-year goal. And that's a consistent refinement as I live my day-to-day life. So for New Year's Eve, for me, that was just another day. For New Year's Day was just another day. I still practiced and celebrated the New Year's because it was a cool thing to do with friends and stuff like that. But as far as like sitting down and reflecting on like me becoming this new thing, I didn't have any of that because one, majority of people fail to even maintain that. And two, I've already done this, been doing this all year. And I'll consistently keep doing this almost in an active day-to-day type of like mental habit. And this is why we want to start diving into it. So, and just going to skip some of this real quick. But yeah, and the way I like to look at it is when you're driving, it's almost like when you're driving down the road, they teach you in like driver's ed, you want to almost look up at like your, the horizon basically of where, you want to look at. And imagine if you're driving and you just focused on like 5 feet in front of the car right there. What'll happen? You'll probably miss your turn. You'll probably wreck. You'll probably run through a stop sign, red light. You probably wouldn't get to where you want to be. But in reality is when you take that step back and you look up correctly and see where you're going, this is how you get to those longer term places right there. And that's what we're going to dive into today is that next 20-year vision. And I'm going to give you guys some questions we're going to kind of go through for y'all to start writing this out. Don't worry, we don't have to like do any show and tell or anything like that today. But I'll at least want to start giving y'all that immediate, here's the thoughts that you should start having. And I like to break this up into 3 key areas of life: health, wealth, and love. This has been the 3 key areas of my life that I've been in a long-term pursuit of. And when these 3 are balanced in terms of fulfillment for each one, this is where you quote unquote feel successful, quote unquote feel happy, all of those other key things right there. And I got a couple prompts for y'all today that y'all can actually go and start breaking these down. And again, the key thing of why we want to start focusing on this 20-year vision is because these are the things that drive your habits today. So once we define that vision, what are the habits we need to do today to make sure that, hey, when we're 50 years old, 28 or 48 years old or 40 years old, where do I want to be in life? And a lot of people do not actually take that time to do that due diligence and start doing that work on crafting that vision. And also to like, just be very clear here. You will not leave today with exactly step-by-step of what that vision looks like. In fact, it took me about a year of practicing it every day before I actually had like a decent idea of what I want for my future. But that was still way better than me not doing it at all. At least I have somewhat of an idea of where I want to go. And I'm gonna be giving you all kind of the questions that I have to think about, and also to expanding my awareness. Because when you think about your vision right now, you probably just think about, oh, I want this much money in the bank account. I want either a wife, or maybe I want to be still like just dating around casually. Maybe I want a six pack. That's probably like what most of y'all are probably thinking back right now. But we actually want to expand and go a little deeper into each one of those key things right there. And that's some of the questions I'll be giving y'all today, for y'all to go through and everything like that. Then after we go through that, then we'll be going more into how does that dictate our day-to-day actions now to be able to achieve that. And then that's where every day I'm working at is just another day, another opportunity to be that thing that I'm trying to become and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start breaking some of these down. We're going to go into health here. And what I recommend for all of y'all is just literally go open up like a Google Doc, like literally just a Google Doc. You don't need anything fancy. Google Doc, maybe you have an iPad, maybe you have a pen and paper, maybe a notepad. Again, nothing fancy here at all. But we're gonna be breaking each one of these down. And again, I'm just gonna give y'all some questions, because these questions are gonna open up your idea to other questions that you have, that may allow you to further create a more detailed vision of what you're looking for. So first thing for health, very, very easy one. What type of body do you want to have? I'm gonna be, like I said, 48 years old. Do I want to be overweight? Do I want to be underweight? Do I want to be extremely muscular? Do I want to be extremely slim? Just in general, what type of body you want to have? If you woke up one morning, looked at yourself in the mirror, what do you want to see in that mirror right there in terms of a physical appearance aspect right there? That's the first question. Next one. This one's more of kind of a mental thing right here. I know, some people may have this issue or not, but how's your relationship with food? I know for me, like, I don't really like I drink and I don't do any drugs or anything like that. But I know for me, like, if I'm sad, I don't go to like crack open a bottle of bourbon and start like drinking a bunch of stuff when I'm sad. Like for me, when I'm sad, that's where food is for me. That's my vice, is food. That's where I go like have a bunch of cheat meals and stuff like that. So typically when I'm more stressed and having a difficult time in life at that given moment right there, I'll be eating a lot more and putting on more weight right there. That's not necessarily a good relationship with food right there. And again, some people may have that, some people not. I know some people that, it's alcohol, it's beer. They're drinking a lot of beers every night when they're going through a stressful time in their life. Everyone has their own vice right there. What type of activities do you want to be able to do on a daily basis? This may be like, do you want to be able to like go run around with your grandkids? Maybe you have grandkids at that time. Maybe you don't. Do you want to be able to, go on hikes and stuff like that? Maybe you and your like future wife like want to travel in an RV and stuff and go on like a bunch of hiking trails and stuff like that. Or do you literally just want to be a very sedentary lifestyle all day, and just sit down all day and like watch TV and stuff like that? You don't necessarily need a fit body for that, but maybe you do. Maybe there's some activities you want to be able to do when you're older. How much sleep do you want to get on a daily basis? This is a big one right here too, from a health perspective. Do you want to be able to sleep a nice 8 hours every night when you get old? Or, maybe you don't need, quote unquote, a lot of sleep right there. Maybe you're someone who hates to sleep. Maybe you're someone you already have sleep troubles, stuff like that. What type of foods do you want to consume? There's also a big one right here, because this is also going to dictate how much money you need. Do you want to be able to go to like Michelin star restaurants and like be able to order like the finest quality of meats, go to like really nice sushi restaurants and like eat very nice food, not necessarily from a price perspective, but like, there's this one sushi spot I love going to, and I forgot the name of it right now, but like I'll easily rack up $200-$300 of just a lime meal, and that's purely just sashimi, which is just raw meat by itself. Again, not really like it's necessarily like extravagant type things, just regular sushi, but it's just finer quality, better import, all that good stuff like that. Or hey, maybe you want to eat McDonald's when you're 48 years old and you're totally okay with eating like fast food all day and like barely spending any money on that. That's also might be something right there for you too. What type of equipment do you want to be able to use on a daily basis? This also another one comes from like if anyone does like biohacking or anything like that, like I know when I'm older, and to be fair, like this is already something I'm actively looking at doing right now, which is like I want to have a sauna, I want to have a cold plunge, like I want to have all of that at my disposal. I want to be able to have like my own home gym. I want to be able to have all of this equipment from just a fitness perspective, but also to like, for example, getting your blood work done on a monthly basis or quarterly basis right there. What type of equipment do you want to leverage from like an optimal side? I mean, I don't know if any of y'all saw like Brian, I think it's Brian Johnson, the dude who like trying to reverse his age and stuff like that. I know one thing that he recently did that really fascinates me is going to, I think it was Puerto Rico he went to, and he got stem cells injected in his knee to help out with like slowing down the aging of the joints and like slowing down like arthritis and stuff like that. And just someone who comes from a family with really bad knees, like that's already something like I'm looking at possibly doing soon. So that way, when I am that old, like I have a higher chance of my knees being perfectly fine. So it's like equipment, medicines you want access to. When we're 48, 50 years old, like the types of things that just Brian Johnson's going to be able to have on the market for us is going to be out of this world. It's going to be crazy new things. And to be able to get that, it's going to cost a lot of money too. So that's also why we're writing all this down. How much stress do you want to experience on a daily basis? It's also another big one right here. Do you want stress at 48, 50 years old? Probably not. Probably not. A lot of people don't even want stress now. And I mean, I know for me, it's almost zero. And to experience zero health stress later down the line, that's a lot of work that you need to start doing now. And that's a lot of time, 90% of the time, like when it comes down to 48, 50 years old, the stress is going to be around money. It's going to be, hey, I don't want to work anymore for active income, but I don't have enough money saved up. So I either have to, A, take a big hit on my lifestyle. I can't go to the places I was eating anymore. I can't use some of these tools I was using anymore for my health and take a big hit on my lifestyle. Or I can continue working and just suck it up basically. And now have to stop to experience stress because now I have to deal with work and stuff. So that's a big thing right there you have to start looking at. And then I have blood work right here because I also want to highlight blood work is going to be something that I recommend all of y'all doing now. If you're going to treat this 20-year vision seriously, blood work is highly important. And at first, if you told me this like a year ago, I would laugh. Like, why the fuck is blood work important? But just me personally, I got my blood work done, and I noticed like all of my stuff is good except my glucose. My glucose rise like a little higher than normal, which actually puts me kind of close to like being pre-diabetic. And if I wouldn't have found that out a year ago, and I still kept eating my certain like diet and stuff like that, then there's probably a good probability that I probably wouldn't be pre-diabetic now, but I'd be even closer than I am now. And another 2 or 3 years of that would put me in that range of being pre-diabetic. So highly recommend if you've never done a blood test. I do one once a quarter. A lot of people recommend at least once a year. So depending on how extreme you want to be with it, but at least once a year, get one done ASAP. And then that way you can have a good foundation of here's where my blood work is at. If I continue to eat the same or like maintain these same habits until I'm 48, 50 years old, what would happen? Would that blood work be perfectly okay? Or, oh, hey, we need to make a change now. Very important right there. Because again, that's all going to affect things 20 years down the line now. So I'm just going to kind of quickly take a stop real quick. Does anyone have any questions around health? These were a lot of really good questions that should open your mind to kind of start thinking about what you need to visualize for your health 20 years from now. But does anyone have any questions around this before I move over to the next two? Let's see. George said, blood work's been on my list for this year. Hear a lot of high level guys talking about getting this done, measuring your free test and improving it. Yeah, like I said, blood work is extremely important. If anyone wants to test, I'll drop the guy I use. I have a guy, I think he's based in LA. His name is JC White. No, he's based in Scottsdale. His name is JC White. He was featured on Men's Health Wealth magazine. He costs 5K for the year, but he also has like a couple other things. So I paid him 5K for the year, and he pays for all four of my blood tests. He pays for all four of my blood tests. He pays for the doctors to review my blood test and give me specific feedback to it. And he also pays for all my supplements for the year. So like, it's a killer fucking deal. And if anyone wants them specifically, I can, like I said, I can put you all in contact with them. All right. Oh, right. We write these out based on a 20-year vision only. Correct. Yeah, Marcus. So when you're writing and asking yourself these questions, you're thinking about 20 years from now. So whatever age you are now, plus 20 years, at that particular age right there, what type of body do you want? What type of daily activities do you want to do? And it's based off that day 20 years from now. So the company from Canada Fab, that's the company that JC uses. JC uses him or that particular company to fulfill all of my supplements. So I don't actually know what the company's called, to be fair. But that's that's what he uses. And I'll drop his, like I said, I'll drop his number real quick now in the chat. Let's see, 1248 909 4308. There you go. JC White, y'all more than welcome to shoot him over an iMessage. Don't call him, just shoot him an iMessage. And yeah, I don't know exactly what blood tests it's called. He puts like 5 to, like, I know when I go, I have to get like 7 vials of blood. It's a lot. But yeah, I mean, like literally, I can pull it up real quick. I'll show y'all. Let's see, Alta Labs. Y'all can get some of these. I'm not going to show y'all the full thing, but just to show y'all what it looks like real quick. All right. Here you go. So like, for example, like this is mine right here. This is like February, May, August, November. Like I said, I go every quarter is when I go, and like it'll literally show you everything, cholesterol. I mean, it's a lot of various different things right here. I'm not going to go too crazy into all of this, but you know, if you watch the replay, you can go back and actually kind of like take a look for yourself and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so he does quite a few different tests. We do a third-party company called Alta Labs. That's the company we use to order the test. And then from there, they use Alta Labs will figure out where you have a local blood center next to you. So like you'll order the test on Alta Labs, and then you'll go in Alta Labs, like you'll type in your location on Alta Labs, and they'll be like, okay, cool, here's 3 different places that we can use in your city. And then you just select the place you want to use, and then boom. But yeah, when you actually go order the test, it's like testosterone, $75, cholesterol, $25. And like you build up your list of things that you want tested for, and then it will go ahead and you know, and then basically once you order it, you just have to show up to your appointment, and that's it. And then, like I said, that's just one half of it. What JC does, JC pays for the tests, JC pays for the doctor, JC pays for your supplements. So like you're getting all four of those things. Like I said, he charges me 5K for the year for all of that. So maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit more less than what some of y'all might pay. For me, it's the peace of mind. Like I literally just send him a text saying, hey, when's my next blood work? And then I go do the blood work and that's it. And then I get a bag of supplements to my door and a Zoom call or like a Loom video from the doctor reviewing the results and telling them specifically about what am I doing right or wrong in my blood work right there. So you can obviously do it way cheaper. I think some people can like literally find blood tests for like $150 to $300, and like you can do it yourself. There's no reason why you need to go pay 5K for the year for that. So like it can be a lot cheaper. Just I rather pay for the experts to where I don't have to worry about anything, and then that way I'm getting expert care on that side. But like I said, I think you can literally pay like 150, $300 at most, get your blood work done 4 times a year. It's like 1,200 for the year at a high end, and then you can go do your own research of like, hey, I have high this. What does that mean? So yeah, that's just something right there you can do. You might also be able to find like a doctor on some website or something like that. Just be just be careful. But yeah, so like I said, JC White, I put his phone number in the chat below, and then y'all can just shoot him over a text, and he can get something set up with you and stuff like that. Cool. This is also some other stuff I want to add real quick. So once you actually start writing down that vision, so like this is like 20 years from now, this is what my perfect day looks like from a health perspective. Then you want to start writing down different, what I would say, actions you can do to get there. And some of these you may or may not know. Like you may not know, like, hey, if maybe you're a little overweight, like you're just not really happy. And you're like, when I'm 50 years old, I want to be like shredded with a six-pack, for example. You may not know the answer for that, but that's where it gives you that question. You can start researching and stuff like that. I'm just dropping, these are all my key actions I do every day from a health perspective that's made like the biggest impact in like just my personal health and stuff. I kind of just quickly run through these. Water intake, you can use MyFitnessPal on your phone, and you can track like your water intake and your caloric intake, which is the number of calories you eat every day. A couple other things: no food 3 hours before bed. I don't do it anymore, but I used to have the Whoop band and like the Oura Ring, or I never had the Oura Ring. I had the Whoop band. I did the Whoop band, and like it gives you like a sleep score every night. And I was doing everything perfect, and I could just never get my sleep score like the high, like to the highest, which was like 90 or like 100. I just kept getting like 89, 80. And the biggest one for me was I was eating too late before bed. And I find that if I eat 3 hours before bed, I'll have like a perfect like sleep score. If I do too late, like an hour before bed, my body's still digesting food, which keeps your body moving in a way and using energy, which actually makes it like harder for you to sleep and get in that deep sleep and stuff. So that was a big one for me. No work 2 hours before bed. Like 2 hours before bed, you want to reduce as much cortisol and like stress and stuff like that. Adrenaline, all of those things before bed. No work 2 hours before bed. I don't know if any of y'all play video games before bed. About a month ago, I was like stopping work 2 hours before bed correctly, and then I was playing video games for 2 hours before bed, and I was having the worst sleep of my life because I was like quitting work, and then I would jack up my cortisol and like my adrenaline and stuff on a video game, and then I'd try to go lay down, and like I couldn't. I was just like wired, fucking rolling. So yeah, so that's a big one right there. No work, stress, cortisol, adrenaline before bed right there. So that's a big one. Same bedtime every night. So we're gonna get into Google Calendar in a little bit because I do like literally everything I do is Google Calendar. But you'll notice every day I wake up at 6:30 every day. That includes Saturday and Sunday. And every night I go to bed between 10 and 11. So this is super important right here because what will typically happen, I used to do this a lot when I was originally waking up at like 4:30 in the morning. I was doing this back in, I think like 2018 through, or 2017 through 2019. I would wake up at 4:30 Monday through Friday, or Monday through Saturday. I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Then Saturday night, I would go out with friends and stuff like that and literally go to bed at like 3 a.m. And then Sunday, I would just sleep all day. And then Monday, I would try waking up at 4:30 and I'd feel like I had the largest hangover ever. And it was because I kept breaking up and disrupting my circadian rhythm right there. So you want to pick it, it's not necessarily important of what time you wake up at, as long as it's consistent every day. If you like staying up at night and getting your work done and sleeping in every day, that's not a problem. Just as long as you stay consistent with it. So for me, I think 6:30 is a great time for me personally. Going to bed between 10 and 11 is also great for me as well because I don't really go out anymore as I used to. I still might go out, food, dinner and stuff like that, but 10:30, 11, that's it. I'm done because quite frankly, I'm not staying up all night and like getting drunk or something like that. So it just kind of depends on your lifestyle and, a balance between the week, like the actual weekdays and the weekend. You want to find a time you can stay consistent with regardless what day it is. Because usually a lot of people, especially a lot of people that work like a 9 to 5, oh, Saturday, Sunday, I can like sleep in late. And then guess what? Monday comes around, they have to wake up early again. And then it's like getting hit in the head with a sledgehammer. It's like, why do I feel like I have the world's worst hangover right now? It's because your circadian rhythm is like fucked up. So a lot of mornings, I don't even need a like alarm clock or anything like that because it's just boom. Like I'm used to waking up at this time. So that's a huge one right there. That's like if you literally don't follow any of this, just follow that one right there. It'll make a huge improvement in your energy, your work, all of those things like that. Weighted blanket, 65 degrees, socks, big help with sleep. Upgrading your bed too. This is also something big too. I didn't put right here, but I have that Tempur-Pedic bed. It's like a $5,000 bed. I noticed a tremendous increase in my sleep quality from going from like I had this like $500 bed that I got when I was like 12 years old, and I slept on that thing for like 13, 14 years straight. And then finally upgraded because I was like, oh, it makes no difference upgrading your bed. Boy, was I wrong. Like tremendous increase in just upgrading my mattress right there. No caffeine 8 hours before bed. That's a big one too for me. I got like 20 minutes left to finish this real quick. No sugar. So this is another big one I've learned this year, obviously due to my blood work, but also too once I actually started practicing no sugar. Tremendous increase in focus, tremendous like decrease in me crashing. I mostly drink a lot of like sugar-free stuff when it comes down to like caffeine. Like I don't like if I get coffee, it's black coffee, Americanos, things like that. If I'm going energy, it's like sugar-free Rebel, stuff like this. I don't really get crashes anymore. And especially too, like if I'm eating throughout the day, as long as I remove sugar, I can eat terrible as long as it has no sugar in it and I don't have a crash. That's a big one for me. And if you look up like a ton of like research and stuff like that around sugar, it's a big impact right there. Walk at least 30 minutes a day. You don't necessarily need to run, but just walk at least 30 minutes a day. There's a lot of studies around that. Caloric intake with MyFitnessPal. You go to bodybuilding.com. They have a calculator of how many calories you need to eat a day. And then you can just determine your goal. Is it to lose weight or gain weight? And like I said, blood testing, supplements based off of blood, all of those good things. These are all the like, what I would say, biohacking things that I've tested personally for myself over the last since 2020. I started doing this in 2020. These are all the things that I'm like, these are the fucking things. I tested everything. I've tried almost everything under the sun. And these are the things that are like, these are actually things that make an impact in your day-to-day life quality. Especially too, like the walk at least 30 minutes a day. I've been getting on what you call it, like Audible and stuff. And sometimes I'll throw in like a video game, play like a video game and like listen to my Audible. And then if I need to go do like my walking outside, I love to go walk outside, throw an audiobook on. Great time. either an audiobook or like just like a mental like meditation, those walks can be kind of like kind of help you like knock off two things at once right there. All right. Any questions about this stuff real quick? Because we're gonna start moving into the fun stuff, which is money. All right, check your chat real quick. All right, sweet. All right, now let's jump into wealth. This is the fun one. This is probably why almost everyone's here today. But we're gonna kind of start it off with health. Health is kind of fun. Then wealth is like really fun, and then we'll kind of get into love, which can be kind of sensitive for some people. And then we'll jump into more of like the key actions and getting all those scheduled out on your Google Calendar next. So again, 20 years from today, I'm 28 years old. So when I'm 48 years old, I look at my bank account, I look at how much money I have. What is that number you need? That's it. Now, for a lot of y'all, that's going to be hard because if I ask you how much money you need 20 years from now, you're probably just going to think of, oh, I want a nice house. I want maybe 2 or 3 cars, and that's it. But reality is that's not everything you spend money on, especially like based off now versus 20 years from today. You're going to have completely different expenses that you're going to be spending money on. And guess what? That's going to alter how much money you need specifically invested at that age right there. So again, how's your relationship with money? What does that look like? Do you still feel like there's not enough money in the world and that you need to save, 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 save because if you spend $1, you're going to go broke? Or do you splurge all of your money and never save a single dollar because you always think more money is coming to you? Do you have some other weird issues? I know I met some guy at a mastermind, very nice guy. We talked for an hours, and he was like stuck at like 10K a month, and like he had all the potential to make more than 10K a month, like all the potential. Very smart person, very good at everything he does. But guess what? He had a bad relationship with money, and that was the only thing that was holding him back from making more money. He lived in it was Chicago. And he grew up in Chicago, and he grew up in a bad side of Chicago. And every time, like I don't say every time, but he gotten robbed many times when he was growing up younger. And now he moved into a very nice part of the country, like literally like zero crime, all that good stuff. But he still has this fear if he makes more money, he's gonna get robbed. And that's what's holding him in a spot. So you may have your own story like that of some fucked up belief that I don't want to say like it's fucked up or made up, but actually something very real. Like that was a very real belief he had because he actually had experience with it, but it didn't necessarily serve him anymore due to the fact that he was in a completely different part of the country. He was in a very low crime area. He was also doing something completely different than when he was a child. So he had different people. He had a much better support network around him. So the probability of him getting robbed was extremely slim compared to when he lived in like a very bad part of Chicago. And the probability of getting robbed was very low. So you may have your own limiting beliefs when it comes down to money. And part of you getting wealthier and the money you want at that age is also beliefs that you may need to be stripped from your life. So maybe you struggle with something like that, and 20 years from now, you just want to make sure like you never have to struggle with that particular belief again around money. How many houses do you want? That's a good question right there. Do you want just one house? Do you want multiple houses? How big do you want those houses? How much land do you want? Where do you want these houses? Like I know for me, like I want a house in like Sunnyside, Miami Beach. Or specifically like there's the Miami Beach area where like those huge like penthouses and stuff like that. I like my home base house where I'm at now, but I also want a house in like either Aspen, maybe Breckenridge, one of those areas right there. It's definitely probably more Aspen because that's a little bit more of like the luxurious part of Colorado. And like I want to be able to like fly private. I want to be able to fly private from here to Miami, here to Aspen. If you want to fly private, that's $10,000 an hour. So it's a 3-hour flight from here to Miami. So that's 30K, 30K. I mean, that's 60K right there round trip for that private flight. Same thing for Aspen. I think Aspen's gonna be about 4 to 5 hours flight from where I'm at right now. So I think it's roughly about 4 hours. So that's 40K there, 40K back. That's 80K. So if I want to go to, let's just say Miami once a month, and then maybe like 6 months a year I go to Miami house, 6 months of the year I go to my Aspen house. I mean, six times six, it's gonna be about 360K a year in private flights to Miami. And then I don't know why I'm glitching out right now on the Aspen flight, about 480K a year on the Aspen, and then 480 plus 360. I need to be able to spend about 840K a year just in private flights between those two houses right there. That's not even including how much the house costs, like all of those things right there. And this is also like another thing that I really want y'all to like understand. Don't just go on like Zillow. Like I have the Zillow app on my phone, and I have like a lot of houses like saved and stuff like that. Let's see. I don't even know why it's not pulling up right now. But yeah, like I'll literally just go like Zillow, and depending on where you live at and where you at, there's like different like housing apps you can use. If you're in the USA, then Zillow's pretty good. Don't just go and like pull up the like most expensive house ever, and then boom, that's the house I want. Like actually take your time and like really pretend you have the money to afford this house. What house would you want based off your thing? Like you may not need the biggest house ever. You may not want the biggest house ever. You might not even care about any of that. You may just want a house on like 100 acres of land in the middle of nowhere. That's perfectly okay. Just as long as you're picking houses and picking places you want to live because of the right reasons. That's the big thing that I really encourage you guys to do. Actually pick things that you would actually buy if you have the money. Not just, oh, hey, it's a crazy expensive house, I'm gonna buy it. Like, that's not really gonna have a lot of give a fuck around you actually want to accomplish these things. Same thing with cars. How many cars do you want? You want 10, you want a huge collection. You may know nothing about cars and can care less about cars, and that's totally okay. I know people like that. Like they literally are not driven by cars at all. Like more cars for them, like literally just does not give a fuck at all. I know other people that are super passionate about cars, and they can name like all, like 50 supercars and every single little spec of it and stuff like that, and like they want all of them. Again, be realistic here. What are the cars you want? And for the right reasons of why you want those cars. That's a big one right there. I'll give you all a great example. When I purchased the Urus this year, my first Lamborghini, I would never, ever think it was a fucking SUV. Like that's the last thing I would ever think, that my first Lamborghini would be an SUV. And not just an SUV, a gray SUV, like something that's very, very subtle. But I purchased it because one, I needed a bigger vehicle for my dogs. Two, I actually genuinely love like how fast it is for an SUV. And like I love like being able to like have a lot of fun with it. And then next second later put my dogs and actually take it like a serious vehicle and stuff like that. Three, I didn't want a bright car that like screamed a ton of attention. I wanted something low profile. I actually got it because of what I wanted for it. I didn't get it because, oh, hey, like I could have easily gone and purchased like a Huracan, and I could have gotten like a bright green or bright orange just to pick up girls in it. And then I would have quickly realized, oh, fuck, this is empty. And then now like I hate the car. I hate paying for it. Then it's just like I don't actually want the car. Whereas like this one, like I actually like it from the intention of why I bought it. So like that's something right there I want you all to think about. Care for your parents. This is something that a lot of people don't like think about. When you're 48, 50 years old, your parents might be 68, 70, 80 years old. And, what happens if like one of them needs a serious operation? They need a knee transplant, or maybe like a critical organ that needs to be transplanted because of how old they are and it's starting to fail? What if like, they need like some special care? Like, do you want, and like maybe they don't have enough money saved up to personally do that care. Like, you want to like your parents to have to like use like a very broke retirement home that has like horrible care that people don't focus on? Or like, do you want your parents to have the best care when they're older? And that's something right there a lot of people don't think about. And yes, it's not technically your responsibility for that. But as someone who takes responsibility for everything around him, that is something I'm personally taking accountability for. I want my parents to be able to have the best of their care when they're older. Whether they plan for it or not, I'm ensuring that is happening. School for your kids. You want your kids to go to a private school, public school? You want your kids homeschooled? You want to be able to fly in a teacher to teach your kids? Hobbies. Maybe there's some hobbies you have that you want to be able to continue when you're 48, 50 years old. For me, I really like cigars. I've been really getting into wine as well. These are two things right there that can be quickly expensive once you start digging deep into it. Maybe you love playing golf. I met this guy and at a event probably about 2 months ago at one of my buddies' baby showers. And all he does is fly around and play at golf courses. He's like 50 something years old, and that's all he does. Every week he's like flying to a different golf course. Yeah, that's his hobby because he actually gives a fuck about that. You're talking about watches, cars, cigars, and wine. He doesn't know shit about it, and he could care less about it. But he'll fly private all the way to like Pebble Beach, and like he could spend hours talking to you about all the clubs. He's probably spent over probably 100K just in clubs alone. So what are those hobbies that you have? And what are those things that you're going to want to be able to do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, maybe a month-to-month type basis when you're 48, 50 years old? If you fly around playing at all the best golf courses now, you choose to actively stop retiring or like actively stop pursuing more money. And now you have to live off the rest of the money you have in your life. And you don't have nearly enough to continue your golf hobby. You're going to be kind of pissed. And this is, again, why are we talking about these things now? As mentioned in the health side, all the health stuff, tools, equipment. If you had to like do blood testing every quarter, it's like $300, $400 to test. Are you going to continue doing that? Equipment, biohacking. Brian Johnson comes out with something new that allows you to like live a little longer. You want to start doing stem cells, like all of those things right there. Will you still be able to afford those things? Food costs. Again, are you going to like have to like go eat out like McDonald's and Burger King throughout the week? Or do you want to be able to treat yourself to a Michelin star restaurant? Maybe not every day, but like maybe once a week, you want to be like a Michelin star restaurant, be able to casually drop $1,000 to $2,000 a week on dinner for just one night out. Staff for house. When I went to the billionaire's house in Scottsdale, he had security for the house. He had a like head guy that just kind of controlled all the staff. He had like the people that cook. He had the people that clean. So like there was a certain like staff just to maintain that house. If you have 4 giant ass houses, you're going to need 4 sets of staff as well. As mentioned, flying private. You may want to fly private. You may not want to fly private at all. Maybe you have a wife. I think the majority of everyone in here today is guys, but I know we have a handful of females, lovely ladies in the call today. So maybe your husband wants to have a shopping spree for the ladies in the call. You want to be able to give him some money to be able to have a shopping spree every month. Some of the guys in the call, maybe you want to have enough money on the side for your wife to have a shopping spree each week, each month. Same thing for their hobbies, right? And then date nights. What are those going to look like when you're older? These are all things that I think when you sit down and initially think about it, you don't think about. You just think about, okay, one house, car, I need this much money saved up. And then once you start getting older, you realize, well, fuck, there's so many of other expenses. And this again goes back to how much money do you need invested? And this is something right here that this is my personal investing approach after talking to a lot of rich people. This has been the approach that a lot of people take. I'm not saying you have to take this approach. This is not legal investing advice, but it's what I've just seen the most people take and what I'm personally taking. So, for me, I got about $750,000 invested, and I need to put, I think it's like $115,000 a month into the S&P 500. And I need to do that for the next 22 years. They 10% estimated interest rate, and we're going to calculate that annually. And that's going to put me right about $104 million invested by the time I'm about 48 years old, or actually this is 50 years old right here. So, and we're going to go over these numbers here in a second, but you'll see I only actually add $31 million, but I make another $70 million from the interest, the compound interest of this. And again, this is just the S&P 500. That's it. If you look at the S&P 500 over the last 40 years, it averaged 10% a year. Cool thing about the S&P 500, I think literally any country can invest into it. I don't think you have to specifically be in the USA for that. And this is why we're going to start talking about this. So $104 million. This gives me 4% of this a year I can live off of. 4% a year is $4 million. $4 million I can live off of a year. Now, keep in mind, I don't need to save any of that 4 million because I already have over 100 million saved. But 4 million a year allows me to, pay taxes and things like that. And that way, 4 million a year comes out to, I think it's just sub 400K a month. I think it comes out to 360K a month. That gives me $360,000 a month for all of these key things right here that I want. And this is why, again, why do you need the money? Why do I give a fuck about achieving that goal? And it's because not just a car and a house, it's literally all of this. It's having enough money put aside to where I don't have to be stressed all day about, oh, I don't have enough money put aside. I'm 50 years old. And again, a lot of these people don't do this now. And that's why I'm stressing this lesson today, because why do we see people in front of Walmart, typically older people at Walmarts, and why do we see them work there? One, obviously some of them are going there just because they want the attention and talking to people and stuff like that. But then also there's the other good part where people that are just old, they still have a job because they didn't do this time and this thing now. And that's where a lot of people fuck up at. And this is why we start looking at how much do you need invested now. And this number right here is the number of which, okay, I need to make a little over 150, 200K a month, probably realistically about 250K a month to hit this number. I averaged about 60K a month in 2024. And, I need a solve for about another 50K. And how do I do that? That's where it comes back down to, client results, rev share payouts, and, basically getting those clients results and stuff like that to solve for that number right there. And this is where a lot of people, especially to the people in Miami, for example, a lot of those people in Miami that are flexing house, car, eating at Nobu, yachts, especially those 21 and 22-year-old kids on Money Twitter, if any of y'all on Money Twitter, they look like they're quote unquote living the life, but what they're doing is they're making 20K and they're spending all 20K of that. They're not saving any money for taxes. They're not saving any money for investments. And guess what? 50 years from now, they're going to be in a very fucked up situation if nothing changes right there. And that's also a big thing that a lot of people do not realize when they look at that particular market right there. So compound interest calculator. And like I said, you want to look at about 4%. Whatever this number comes out to that you want is the 4% of that a year is what you're going to do. So If you have $100 million invested by the time you're 50 years old, 4% of that is how much you can live off of a year. So if I want to live off 4 million a year, again, it's 4 million a year. I don't need to save any of that because I already did the savings. So 4 million a year. And this thing's just going to keep pumping out 4 million a year for me. I never have to worry about money again. So, and let's just say, for example, my 750K invested so far this year. Let's say I don't invest another penny of that. If I don't invest another penny of that, 4% of, oh wait, hold up. Actually, no, let me do this in a different way. Let's say I don't do another penny of that, calculate, I'll have $6 million when I'm 50. So I'm at 750 invested, and then about $6 million that this will turn into. I can live off 4% of that when I'm 50 years old. Let's see, that'll be boom, times 0.4. That gives me about 240K a year. I mean, hey, that's still about 20K a month, but also too, we're not taking in consideration inflation. Basically, that 20K a month will probably be roughly about 10K a month by the time we get to that point. Yeah, so Lucas asked about taxes. That's a really good question there, Lucas. And that's why I say 4%. Because if it averages about 10% a year, this, let's see, let's go back to the original, which is 115,000. Boom. So the cool thing about this is that you only pay taxes on S&P 500 investments when you sell. So if I invest, like I said, 750K, I only pay taxes when I pull money out. So if this averages 10% a year, 6% of that 10% is going to go to pay taxes, and the other 4% is what I'm living off of. So technically, I'll be extracting 10 million a year from this. 6 million will go to taxes, 4 million will go to me to spend. So that's the tax rule right there. I just want to be very clear on that for y'all. All right. Any questions around the wealth side?
Yeah, I have one.
Go for it.
I find it so hard to go like 20 years out. I mean, I struggle with 5 years because I find like my financial thermostat will just change, man. Like
Mhm.
and as you progress and grow and you adapt to like the lifestyle inflation, everything like that. Like right now, like I remember once upon a time, my like 10-year goal was just to get to 10K a month back when I was making like 2K a month. And then you get to that point and then you want more, you want 30 or 50, and then you get there and you want 100. And like I feel like what you're showing on the screen, like all this stuff is like it almost feels to me like it almost seems so far away that I can't even like really picture it at. And I'm even where I'm at now, man. I mean, like my take home now is like a lot better than a lot of scenarios. But this is still feels so far away. Like you're taking home at this point, you're probably taking home what, like 5 or 10 million a year or more,
And that's
right? And
that's also too why this exercise is so powerful. Everyone should feel like you can't picture this. That's exactly why we're doing this, because you can't picture it.
so I guess what I was going to say is like for you, you're already in a vehicle that's scalable and you know yourself like, okay, if I have 5 clients, I make an X amount. If I want to invest, blah, 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 I need to get so many more clients. And then you can kind of reverse engineer and scale out. But like, what if you're like someone says in a 9 to 5 or someone like what I'm doing and you're capped, you're making, 2, 3, 400K a year and you're capped and that there's no scalability in that position. You got to pull out and start from zero. That's why I think I find feels so far away because where I'm at right now is completely capped. Like there's no real scalability in it at all. So then I'm like, okay, well, I got to kind of go back to the drawing board to
Mhm.
get in a vehicle that's scalable. You're already
And
in a
that's
scalable vehicle.
that's also what makes it again still powerful because you know that this is where you need to go. This is completely excluding your current situation right now. This is simply just to start the practice and start the intention of starting to build that picture out. And then the next part comes into what is the vehicle I need to get there? So if you know you need roughly X amount, invested by then. And like I said, a lot of people will start off, they'll start like pulling the most expensive houses they can possibly find, the most expensive cars they can possibly find, and like I need 500 million invested. And then they'll do the math of like how much money they need to put per month to hit that. And then they'll start working towards that and start trying to find a vehicle that'll allow them achieve that. And then this is also where the vision will slowly change over time because then it's like, okay, well, hey, do I really need 5 Bugattis? Do I really need 5 houses that are all mansions and, $50 million houses? And then you start looking at more realistically of what you want. Now, again, to go back to your key thing right here, where you are capped, completely understand that. You are starting a new vehicle right now, but that's also what poses the questions of how do I invest X number a month? Because now you have a number based off generally of what you need invested by the time you're that age. Now it comes down to, okay, what are the vehicle that can get me there? And can that vehicle achieve that? Like if, let's say, for example, Lucas, let's say you need to start investing 50K a month. Can an e-com store make you enough money to invest 50K a month?
I would say so.
Yeah, easily. Like we had 2 clients last month do 150K in profit.
The business that's one like that's the business though, like not the actual owners, is it? Or would you invest with the business money? I thought you'd have to
Yeah,
pay
so it's
yourself a
just
salary.
whatever, like a lot of people on LLCs and they're single owner LLCs, so all that money's for you.
I see.
So it just comes down to if you have a bunch of other owners, then it's split up and like those key things right there. Um, so then it comes down to yeah. Now let's say for example you need to invest 50K a month and you want to start a business of you washing cars. Could that vehicle right there help you make 50K a month profits invest?
Probably be harder, but I mean, maybe somebody out there's done it. I think Jason Derulo makes like 5 billion a year of car washes. I just don't think he posted on one of those
Yeah, not
Instagram
not
viral
not
clips.
car wash machines. Like you actually pulled up someone's house and manually washing their cars.
Oh, no, no. Yeah.
So that's where it's like you start looking at the vision of what you want to achieve, how much money you need to invest, and then you start asking yourself, hey, can this particular vehicle get me to X number per month? If not, why am I spending my time on it? Because then it's like, oh, well, hey, I have a great idea to go invest. I have a great idea to go and start a car detailing business. Like nothing's stopping you. But then you start looking at your long-term vision. Will this help me get closer to my vision or no? If no, why am I spending time on it? Because then that's going to put you back into that bucket we talked about at the beginning of the call, where it's just like short stop, short stop, short stop. And then you're never where you're at, where you want to go long term. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
And I just want to be very clear here. You should not be able to like fully picture this right now. That is 100% okay. But the intention of doing it over and over and over is what's going to allow you to get more clear. There should be no one that leaves this call today with an exact plan of exactly what they want from their vision. And like, boom, that's it. And they'll never alter it again. That's very false. You'll have an idea today of what you want, and then you'll slowly keep chipping away at it over time. And it's almost like a painting that you start. And in the beginning, it's a completely flat canvas. And then just over time, you keep working on it until it finally you can see it. And that's exactly what happens here with this. I'm giving you guys more of the intention now to start chipping away at this thing for y'all. All
Nick,
right.
I have two. Oh,
Go ahead, Marcus.
okay. First question is, rather than keeping saved money in your savings account, where would you recommend putting our savings?
So this is what I personally do. I keep 6 months of personal expenses in my personal savings account. And then I have another savings account that's 6 months of business expenses. So that way, like I have a cushion for both. And then everything else goes straight into my S&P 500.
Okay. And then the next question is, well, to follow up with that real quick, is like, are you using any specific platforms like Robinhood or anything?
So I started off with Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch, you can open up an account completely for free. And then I recently switched over to Chase Private Client. Let's see. Yeah, it's their Merrill Edge. Like literally anyone can go open up an account after this call today and get started. But I recently switched over to Chase Private Client, and that was just because I wanted the problem with like Merrill Edge, for example, it's a self-service platform. So you go open the platform and you can start trading in it and boom. And what I buy is called SPY. There we go. SPY. SPY is a ETF off of our mutual fund off of the S&P 500. It moves exactly the same as the S&P 500. And the reason why I choose SPY is because like the actual S&P 500 is, let's see, it's $5,938 right now. So like every share you have to buy is basically 6K at once. Whereas like if you're literally doing SPY, every $600 you can basically invest at once. So that's what I do. I used to start off with Merrill Edge, then I switched over to Chase Private Clients, and that was just because I wanted a in-person thing, and it was kind of a two-person thing. I had basically in a humble way, I had too much money in one bank, and they said, "Hey, we're not going to insure you if we ever got shut down." So I had to move some of that money to another bank, and I just moved over to Chase Private Client, and they have like their own like. Instead of like me doing it self-service, I just put money into the Chase account and I give my rep a call and say, "Hey, can you buy X number in the S&P 500?" And it's done. That's it. So, but you can start with Merrill Edge.
Okay, and you might cover this later, but I wanted to ask, do you just look at the 20-year vision and you break it down after that, or you just only look at the 20-year vision?
Yeah, so you start off with a 20-year vision, and then it's how do I get there?
Okay.
And we'll get into a little bit more of that in a second. And then Lucas asked, why only the S&P 500? That's a great question there, Lucas. The reason why I only do the S&P 500 is because I want it stupid simple. I literally just want to be able to make a call and done. I don't want to have to sit there and like try to like for example, I put some money in Coinbase this month. Just purely because I had a little extra to invest. So I put some money, I bought like 20 different crypto coins, and like I'm not touching that until I'm 50 years old. And I think I spent like an hour a day trying to find these different coins. Whereas the S&P 500, I think I've spent an hour total on the last year and a half of investing into it. I want stupid, simple, easy, not have to worry about it.
Yeah. Man, I was just more so curious about like if you use like a financial advisor or somebody to give you like the initial advice where it's like, hey, this is your portfolio and it's like 5, 6, 7 things, and then every time you want to invest, you put a portion in each kind of each segment, because I know S&P 500 itself is pretty solid. But I was just curious if you had any money in like bonds or CDs
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything else like that.
I have a little bit of money stashed off as well. I still have a financial advisor, to be fair. If I forgot the exact call, but it was like one of the weekly calls we did this year. A guy named Grant came on as a guest
Okay.
speaker, and he's my financial advisor. And yeah, I have like 4 different life insurance policies and I have money invested into. I have like some, I think it's like like your 401k, it was like a 401k, and then there's another one, I forgot the name of it. And then like a couple other like little side investments Grant wanted me to make. So it's like I invest a little bit with him, and then like the other amount I put in the S&P 500. So,
Fair enough.
all right. And then Luca asks, does the SPY beat inflation? I want to say yes, because I don't have the exact graph, but I know there's a graph that shows SPY versus, or like the S&P 500 versus inflation, and S&P 500 always comes ahead. All right, Fab asked, what if you keep the LLC open for years and you invest with it? These are going to be some more technical questions now that a financial advisor are going to be able to answer for you. But for me, I transfer it all to personal income and then I invest that money under a personal account. But I know you can open up a S corp, which basically makes you an employee for the business. And when you open up that S corp, you can create a brokerage account under the company, and then everything you invest in that brokerage account can like almost be like written off. Again, you need to talk to the financial advisor for that.
I mean, I was just thinking like every time you cash out 1 million, you will receive, I don't know, in Louisiana what is the tax, but I believe you cashing out 750. So you will compound much more if you are doing it with an LLC. I mean, I don't know anything about these things. It's only like logical. It's something logical coming in my mind. So in that way, you will have other 250 to compound more. Anyway, I'm too sick over this topic.
Yeah, no worries, man. All right. Lucas, is another financial question?
Yeah, it was more about just the goal, the 20-year goal thing, but I didn't want to just ask another if there's folks waiting because I know we're limited on time.
Yeah, well, you can answer. You can ask it real quick.
I was gonna say, so the way you're looking at it is like you have your 20-year goal, and then you say, okay, reverse engineer what do you need to do every single month. How do you not know that you're selling yourself short by saying it's a 20-year goal when you could potentially do it in like 10 years or 5 years?
That's a good question. This is why it comes down to it's not really a goal. It's more of a vision of what you want. And you may tweak that vision based off I want more or I want less. But it's the pursuit over the next 20 years. That's where you actually get your, well, I would say almost like fulfillment, success feeling of it. And then from there, as far as selling myself short, you're only selling yourself short if you feel like, you don't push yourself. And you'll quickly start to like feel that, right? Or like you only sell yourself short if you feel like, oh, I could have asked for more. But you wouldn't even have the thought of asking for more if you feel fulfilled with like these things you want, if that makes sense. You'll start to know if you feel like you're selling yourself short. Like, for example, my goal for 2024 was to invest 500K. And I invested 750K, like almost 2x what I originally set my goal for. All that's doing is like when I first set the goal, like 100 million invested by a 50, and I didn't even have $1 invested, it felt almost impossible. Then I spent a year working towards it, invested 750K. Now I'm like, holy fuck, this is actually easier than I thought. And now it just comes down to, even if I had more money invested, what the fuck would I do with it? Do I go buy a bigger house? But do I want a bigger house? Do I want nicer cars? But do I need 20 Bugattis, for example? That's just more of, you'll tweak the vision as you pursue it based off your trajectory at the time right there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, cool. We're going to keep rolling. I know I usually cut off at 3, but I still have a good amount of things that we're going to cover. I'm not going to jump into this too deep, but if anyone needs a car like buying principle, these are one of the rules that I follow, which is anytime I go and like splurge on something, what I'll do is I only do 10% of what I invest. So say, for example, when I bought the Urus, I bought it when I hit 600K invested. Because once I hit 600K invested, I was able to comfortably put a 60K down payment, which is 10% of that investment right there. So generally when I'm looking at cars, watches, anything that's like luxurious and nice and not really a need, but a want. That's where I start looking at like the 5% and the 10% rule. So I never put more than 10% down when I've already invested in the marketplace on something. And then the 5% rule is just like, I never want more than 5% of my income to go to car notes. So like 5% of my income will go to cars, and the other 5% of my income will go to housing, apartment, comp, like, you know, whatever your current living conditions is. So that way, no more than 10% of my income is being used up by housing and cars. Again, just personally, what I like to follow, what I've talked to many different people that are even richer than me, and you know, like very, very wealthy people with multiple different cars and stuff like that, multiple houses and stuff like that. These are the types of things I've seen the most just consistency across them of what they do. Another key thing is a lot of you, or some of you, may not be able to live to that at this given moment, and that's totally okay, but it kind of gives you something to work towards. The reason why I wanted to show this to y'all real quick is because this is also going to dictate some of the other things, like, okay, hey, if I have $50,000 a month in car expenses because I want a Bugatti, I want a Pagani Huayra, I want a Ford GT, a Lamborghini Aventador, and you have $50,000 a month of car notes, then you're probably going to be at least making $1 million a month to be able to comfortably afford that without feeling like, oh shit, you know, I got to freak out every month. So, again, I don't want to go too deep in this because this can literally be a whole hour call right here. But if anyone has any questions further about like buying a car, anything like that, this is just personally what I've followed and what's allowed me to feel not stressed. That's the biggest thing. When you buy a car and it's like 20% of your income every month, like you're stressed consistently every time something breaks on it, or you're stressed consistently every time you have a bad month or something like that. And that creates some bad things right there. Okay, we're going to shift over into the last major quadrant, which is love. Not a hot topic. What I would say on money Twitter, not a hot topic for red pill for anyone in that like space right there. But again, it's something that a lot of people miss out on. They're so focused on the health and the wealth aspect, they don't focus on this. And like, again, just general questions to start asking yourself. You know, do you want to be married when you're 20 years from now? Do you want to have kids? How do you want your kids raised? Is there any problems that you still struggle with in a relationship that you want to improve on? So maybe you still like struggle with communicating with your partner. Do you still want to have that problem 20 years from now? You know, do you still shut down in a disagreement with your partner? Do you still have people in your life that still drain you down? You know, in 20 years from now, like, what type of people do you want in your life? Do you want people that lift you up, or do you want people that drain you down? What do those things look like? And then another key thing here is hypothetical situations of how you would handle those things. This is also something else that I've learned that really exposed my mind and kind of expanded my mind, which was a lot of people, when they sit down and do all of this planning, they only look at the good things. They never think about the bad things, the what ifs. And how can you prepare for those things? So when those things do happen, like it kind of goes back to that quote, like, I'd rather bleed in training than bleed in war. So same thing here. I want to bleed in training, so that way when war happens, perfectly fine. So when these hypothetical situations happen, how do you show up and you can handle it like perfectly? One particular inner circle student that I had a call with, this particular inner circle student wants to have kids this year in 2025. And like, he's never done anything to like start studying up on how to be a good dad. So it's like, hey, great opportunity now for you to start studying, reading books on like how to be a good dad, how to handle sort of situations. So when they do happen, boom, like you confidently can handle them versus like freak out mode because you've never been exposed to them. So what are some of those hypothetical situations that could happen? 20 years from now, you know, like I said, I'll be 48 years old. My parents would be roughly about 70 years old right there. So, you know, I would say my wife at that time right there will probably be like have the same situation. You know, what if like her mom passes away? How would I show up for my wife at that time? Let's say you have a child and your child drops out of college and is acting out. How do you work with your wife to be a unified team? You know, like these are just some very generalized questions here that like we can all probably have seen before happen. It's not like they're like hypothetical situation, aliens invade Earth. What do you do with your wife? It's like these are all like very real things that probably happened before that we've personally just witnessed in other times. So it's not like it's completely like just made up situations right there. And so yeah, so these are some good things to start thinking about, start writing down. I'm actually going to recommend two really good books for y'all that I've read this year, which was The Masculine Relationship. At first I thought this was about to be a red pill book, which again, I'm not really like red pill or blue pill. I'm kind of like right in the middle. The Masculine Relationship is a very good book that just, again, if you're a guy, like read it. Whether you're in a relationship or not, highly recommend that book a lot. It's very neutral between red pill and blue pill, and it's very very beneficial for your wife as well in that sense. Is it talks about how to be an effective leader, not a commander, not a dictator, an effective leader. And if you don't know the difference between an effective leader takes everyone's opinion, everyone's perspective into consideration before making a decision that's going to be the best decision for the group entirely based off what they want. Versus a dictator is, hey, I want this to happen, make it happen. So that's the difference right there. One-on-one questions to ask before you get engaged. If you love this exercise we did today, there's 101 questions around this in this book right here. So another really good book right there that I recommend as well. All right, cool. Now, kind of zooming through this. Again, all of this can be written down in a Google Doc. This is something that you can start on today. Literally just take like 30 minutes to an hour. I mean, this call probably already got a lot of thoughts in your head. Just start writing those down. Get comfortable, right? Like go to a different work location than you normally do. Like, for me, like I love a good cigar lounge or maybe like a whiskey a little later at night. Sit down and just get comfortable and just turn off all distractions, turn off your phone and just have fun visualizing the future. That's it. Because this is going to be the vision that's going to dictate your future, your next day actions of what you're doing to try and accomplish that. And as I've mentioned multiple times, you will not have that full vision today. You will not have that full vision tomorrow. You won't have that full vision a year from now. But you'll have a much greater vision of what you want a year from now if you intentionally do this and over and over and over versus like you just never doing this at all. And also too, let me just be very clear here. You don't have to like redo this over and over where like you literally copy everything, delete, and then redo it. Like literally you can just constantly keep tweaking it over a long period of time to where you finally like, feel complacent with that particular vision you want. That's just something that thing like I really want you to think about. And then I know there's like other things people talk about, which is like, hey, I'll figure this out later in life when I'm rich. That's typically what a lot of like the money Twitter people say. Let's just say you're 25 now and you spend the next 10 years getting rich and you completely neglect health and love. And you're 35 now. You want to settle down with wife and kids, but like you're out of shape. You have years of bad habits to remove out of your life. Like it'll literally probably take you another 3 to 5 years of you working on yourself before you're actually ready for that particular thing, which is health and love. So I just want to be very clear on that right there. Don't neglect these things. Like health and love outside of getting rich can be very good things that or like literally hobbies, right? Like, for me, very, very clear here, Chuck. I played a little bit too much Call of Duty over the last 2 months. That new Call of Duty just came out. And, when I kind of cut it off and stopped doing it over the last week, then I was like, shit, what do I do with my time? And this is a great thing, a great habit to have, which is let's work on those other areas of my life that I'm neglecting right now. A great habit to have is consistently looking at that vision I want. A great habit I have is looking at ways to improve myself for hypothetical situations that's going to happen down the line. Those are things right there that can replace other negative habits you have now or negative hobbies you may have right now. I don't know why the slide duplicated. Cool. Couple of visuals right here. I just want to show you all this. Typically what I've seen just over the last decade in this space is that people might have a lot of money with no health and love. Like, think about how many people you know that are overweight but have a lot of money, and like they have a terrible relationship with their people around them, and they have a terrible relationship with their health. Like, literally all they care about is their money, and like they hate themselves at the end of the day. I know people that are like very healthy, very wealthy, but like that's it. Money is their God and their health, and like they have a terrible relationship when it comes down to everyone around them. They have a terrible relationship when it comes down to, like being able to even maintain anything like that. I know a lot of like fitness influencers, quote unquote, that live this lifestyle. We've seen a couple of them fall off over the last year or two. And I'm not going to mention their names just because this call's recorded. Again, I've seen people that are healthy, ripped, swole, like married and stuff like that. But then also too, they still struggle in another part of their life when it comes down to like providing from a wealthy perspective. And they still feel down at the end of the day. So the key from a fulfillment perspective is having all of these equal together. And that's what I've seen the most fulfilled people. And personally what's brought me the most fulfillment. And I can, like I'm still on my journey with these. Like I never feel like it's, oh, hey, I fulfilled, I'm stopping these things. It's like, no, it's like these are a long-term thing of different little buckets you have to fill in life. And the minute one of those become underfilled, that's where you feel like something's off in your life. And you feel like, oh, I need to take a step back from things. I need to take a time to like clear my head. And it's usually when it comes down to these things right here. One of these things in your life is lacking. And as mentioned earlier, when you first set out to actually spend your time on this vision for your future, it's going to look like this. Like you'll sit down, you'll do a little bit of painting and you're just like, okay, that's it. And that's okay. You should not be able to be clearly and just be like, boom, that's it. Unless you've already been intentionally doing this. Like I said, no one takes the time to do this. And that's why from 20 years from now, they're 50 years old and they want to choose to stop retiring. And they look around and they're like, I haven't accomplished anything I wanted. I don't have the right wife in my life. I don't have, enough money set aside. I neglected my health. And then you're 50 years old, just waking up and like, fuck, I got to change things up. The whole goal here is to start doing the work now to where you get to that age, you don't have to worry about those things. And once you I say a year of being intentional with this, I would say if you spend a year being intentional with this, of like focusing on your vision every day, like I wouldn't even say it would be fully complete, but you'll have a good grasp of like what you want in life. And like I mentioned before, the more you focus and be intentional with your vision, you're also going to be tweaking it over time. There's some of you in this call that maybe you have this vision of like living the bachelor lifestyle when you're 50, having multiple girlfriends, a penthouse in Miami with multiple cars. And again, that's not wrong because that's what you want now. But until you actually kind of experience some of those things, that's also going to shape a little bit of that vision as well. Like personally for me, I wanted the bachelor lifestyle. I wanted like a penthouse in Miami, multiple cars, multiple girlfriends and things like that. I spent 1 week in Miami and then immediately threw that out the window. Like went to Miami, got a baller ass place. I stayed there a week by myself with no one else, so I could actually truly experience Miami by myself. I went on like 3 different dates with random girls and immediately was like, this is the fucking worst thing ever. So that's also another thing where it's like some of your vision, try to live it out in a small way. So like for me in that example right there, all I did was just go rent a place in Miami. It was like $2,500 for the week. And then went on some dates with some girls. The only thing I didn't get to experience in Miami was the supercars, but I didn't really have to worry about that. So like try to live small parts of your vision out for like a much lower cost. It's like literally the equivalent of like you going to a dealership, test driving a brand new vehicle, and like you don't necessarily have the money yet for that vehicle, but it allows you to drive that brand new vehicle without actually you having to own it. Then you can quickly realize, oh yeah, this is actually something I want or actually something I hate right there. That's a good one right there, Albert. Low budget testing. I like that. Conversations with people. That's a big one right there. There's things in my vision that maybe other people have already achieved. And just having conversations with people that's already experienced that thing allows me to also better like add clarity to it. Experiences. Like I mentioned with the Miami thing, just go experience small things in your vision. And I can quickly help you realize whether that's something or not you want down the line. I know for me, I just got back a trip from Breckenridge, Colorado, and like, you know, for a long period of time, I really hated like I only wanted the city, and like I really hated kind of the nature and outdoors and stuff like that. But now, like I'm seeing it as more of like a dual personality of mine, where like some part of me wants that like cool, quiet nature side, and then the other side of me wants that like city side. And at first I thought, oh, well, you know, I just kind of gotta settle somewhere. It's like, well, no, I was like, I can just buy a house in Miami, buy a house in like Breckenridge or like Aspen, like I said. And then, you know, like that's helping me clarify my vision of what I want. And that's okay to have 2 different spots. Getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things also helps a lot. I know for me, like with boxing, for example, I got out of my comfort zone and hired a coach in 2021 of January is when I hired my first coach. And before that, like I was always too scared of hiring a coach and like going to a boxing gym and stuff like that. But I finally got out of my comfort zone, hired a coach, and it opened up this whole new passion for my life that, you know, I love a lot. And that's also something right there. I got out of my comfort zone. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I tried something new. And now it allows me to further expand my vision. I'm a huge fan of new things because if the new thing goes completely wrong, I have a really good story to tell. If the new thing goes completely right, then fucking awesome. Like I found something else that's fulfilling for my life. That's why like if I go on a first date with a girl, if it goes terrible, I have an amazing story. If it goes amazing, then like I have another amazing story to tell. So like I don't really see a bad thing of getting out of your comfort zone unless it could put your life technically in danger, which, I mean, to be fair, some girls might have to worry about that. All right, cool. I'm not going to go through all of this because I literally just talked to you about that. Let's kind of go back and pull back now. What actions do I need to do on a daily that's going to make it impossible for me to not hit my vision, my 20-year vision? This is where we're going to start pulling it back now to the day to day now. How do you need to live your life day to day that's going to make it impossible for you to not to hit your 20-year vision? If I have a vision of needing $100 million invested by the time I'm 50, and I sit down and play Call of Duty for 8 hours a day, will I hit that investment goal? Drop a 1 in the chat if yes. Drop a 2 in the chat if no. There we go. Yeah. I mean, unless, you know, I get like really good, I start to stream and stuff like that. But the probability of that is no. So that's a great example right there. So if you have this vision of achieving this thing, what actions are you doing right now that's completely fucking your ability of achieving that vision? That's what you have to start looking back in your own life. What actions do I need to stop doing that is pushing my 20-year vision further back? So, for example, for me, I'll give you guys examples for both. For me personally, actions I need to do on a daily basis. research for clients, because that's what's going to give me my ad ideas, landing page ideas, offer ideas, all of those good things. Those ideas is going to get client results for me. And those client results is going to make me content for Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Based off me creating content, that's what gets me students and clients. That's where I make my money. So as long as I do that research and create those ideas and create that content, that's my daily actions I need to do every day. As long as I do those things, everything else falls in line for my 20-year vision. Very simple. Now, what are actions you need to stop doing that is pushing my 20-year vision back further back? So I'll be a little vulnerable here for a second. For me, that was my dating life. Like beginning of the year, I was going on dates with girls that were like completely wrong fit before I even went on the date. Like just, I knew for a fact this girl would not work at all before I would even go on the date. And I would talk to them. I'd go on multiple dates with them. It's like, why the fuck am I entertaining that if I want this person and this person is not even close to that thing? It just doesn't make sense. So I have to stop doing those things. And like, there's going to be very obvious actions that you need to stop doing. Like the Call of Duty, for example, I just made, where it's like, if I play Call of Duty for 8 hours a day and I need $100 million invested by the time I'm 50, am I doing the right action to get there? It's like, fuck no. But there might be actions you do not even realize it. Like these are more subconscious actions, beliefs, objections you constantly have in your mind. Living in your comfort zone. This might be things like you want a wife and kids, but yet you still look at like pornographic films and stuff like that. Like no serious woman would treat you seriously if you're a dude still doing that. So what are those things in your life that you need to stop doing? Because again, every time you do those actions, you push your vision further back. I don't know. I know Marcus, I don't know if he's still in here. I know the other day we got on a call and, you know, like he was telling me he hasn't been pitching clients. And I'm like, dude, every day you don't do that action, you literally push yourself further back from getting a client. And like, that's a short-term thing. But think about it. Every time he doesn't pitch a client, that's not just pushing 30 days away from like him landing a client. That's also pushing his 20-year vision further back as well, man. These are all things we have to start looking at. What are the actions we need to prioritize on a daily basis? And what actions we need to stop doing? These are huge right there that we need to be looking at. And then just ask yourself, like a lot of people like to do this, weekly review where they sit down with a notepad and like review their week. I used to do it too. Now I look at it as a huge time waste. That's why I do not do New Year's resolutions, goals, and stuff like that, because I just look at it as a huge time waste. I like to just real time ask myself one question. If I lived every day like today, would I hit my 20-year vision? If I sat down and played Call of Duty all day today, didn't work out, ate like shit, and like swiped right on Tinder all day, would I hit my 20-year vision of a six-pack, $100 million invested, and like a wife and kids and stuff like that? Probably not. Now, if not, what needs to be changed? What do I need to do differently today? Now, let me be very clear here. You don't need to just sit down and do these actions all day. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. I got some cool stuff with Google Calendar I'm going to show y'all and kind of how I prioritize my day in terms of time and what actions I do. So I just want to be very clear here. It's not like, you know, wake up, go to bed, and throughout that time, I'm just fucking going at it. Because that's just going to drain me, and then after a week, I'll be burnt out. But I still need to look at the big swing actions that make a positive difference in my life, and I need to do more of those. And then the smaller swing negative actions that negatively impact me right there. So now you should start understanding action should be the priority, not the goal. You should start having an understanding now of your vision and starting to think of these questions now around your vision. And then now the big question is, what actions do you need to hit your vision? That's what we want to start looking at now. And last word on actions. Couple things. So first off, I forgot why I added cars and dinner, but we'll go into that in a second. There's actions that you love doing, like I love doing these calls. I love doing one-on-one calls. I love doing sales calls. I love writing ads for clients. I love researching for clients. I love creating content online, social media, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Like I love these things. I do not like running payroll, not because of like the money leaving my account, just from like the actual like physical thing of like having to go spend the time doing it. I don't like sitting there and like, taxes, for example. I don't like cooking. Like I love cooking, but like when I do it once or twice a week for my friends, because I love to like put on an event for people. I hate cooking every day when I have to do like meal preps. That's why like I hired someone for that. I hate washing my clothes. I hate cleaning my house. Like these are all just things I don't feel productive in, and I just don't like it. So like I hired those things out. I hate spending time in like Photoshop or Adobe After Effects to like edit a creative. That's why I have a dedicated like editor on my team and stuff like that. I love creating YouTube content. I hate sitting there editing a YouTube video and then uploading it. Like that's why I have a team that edits the video and uploads it for me. I love responding to the comments, but I hate uploading the video. So what you want to start doing is, what are the actions you love doing? And what are the actions you hate? And then you slowly start working on outsourcing those actions to someone else to where you do not have to focus on it. There's some of you that are brand owners in here that are phenomenal at building products, like really good products. And that's what you love. You love building products. You love researching and understanding a market and creating a really good fucking product. There's some of you in here that cannot stand building products and only love running the ads. Like you build a half-assed product really quick and then you just love building ads. The goal here is that each one of you can build a unique life, a unique vision for what you want, and a unique of what you want to do on a day-to-day basis. And it's purely of what you want to do, and you surround it by things you want to do and you love to do. And there will be times where you don't quite have that luxury yet. Like when I was first getting started, I had to edit my videos because I was not making any money to be able to outsource it to a YouTube team. And to be fair, like I'm just gonna give you the very bro answer to that. You just have to suck it up and do it, because you know that you're not going to do it forever. It's just a short-term thing you have to do for a period of time before you have the luxury of outsourcing that action. Use Marcus as an example real quick again. I know he hates sending out video pitches, but he does not really in a position yet to be able to hire it out yet to delegate it to someone. So that's what gives you even more motivation and drive to hit it with all the action and force you can, because the quicker you're able to scale that thing up, the quicker you can outsource it to someone else that'll do it for you. So that's a big thing on these actions right here. There is some that you're gonna love to do, and that's the only things you focus on, and things you hate doing, and that's things you outsource and delegate when you get to that opportunity. And if you hate doing those things right now but can't outsource it yet, then either cut the action completely if it doesn't make sense. I mean, editing my YouTube videos, like I can't cut that action right there. But outsourcing it did make sense. And that's why after about, I think 3 or 6 months of me doing my own YouTube videos, I delegated to someone else to do all the editing. And then that's been huge for me because I can only do what I love now, which is making content. And another key thing here is that your actions will change over time as your vision progresses. And that is okay. That is 100% okay. There might be actions you're doing right now that are not necessarily in line with the long-term vision, but it's going to help you get to that next step. I think Luke is already out, but as he mentioned earlier, he was in like a 9-to-5 right now. That 9-to-5 maybe kind of feels constrained on him right now in terms of him hitting that long-term vision. But he has to do that action right now until he can achieve that next thing, which is scaling up his store. And as soon as his store scales up, he has the ability now to shift his daily actions only around that store. And again, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And then last thing is you have to have a deep rooted why to the vision, or the action will be meaningless for you. Like, this is where a lot of people fuck up with the vision. They're like, I'm gonna be a billionaire. I'm gonna have 5 planes. I'm gonna have 4 Bugattis. I'm gonna have 5 different houses, like all this. And if there's no real reason why you want to make that money, it's like, yeah, you have this big vision, but you won't feel like it's your vision. You won't feel attached to the vision right there. And a good book to read is Start With Why. Start With Why is another really good book to read that kind of digs deeper into that. And if we go back to, let's see, the wealth creation, that's why actual things like care for your parents. Because I know probably at least the majority of y'all love your parents. And like the minute you think about like them being like sick in the hospital when they're older, like, and now attaching that to how much money you need saved to be able to afford that, that right there should immediately make you want to make a fuckload more money. Especially y'all who live in the USA. Like I saw a hospital bill, the other day on Twitter for like 200 and I think like $60,000. And the payments for that hospital bill is going to be 36 or 60 months at $3,600 a month. Yeah. And it was like literally for like some minor operation after an accident. I was like, if you have to go provide that for your parents, would you have 260K right now that you could go toss for your parents to have like a surgery like that? That's something big right there to start thinking about. And again, when they're older and you're older, like that's all gonna be all things right there that's gonna become a more realistic thing that could possibly happen right there. All right, now we're gonna get to some tactical stuff. Hope I didn't lose y'all. Hope looks like still a majority of y'all on here. We're gonna start getting into some more tactical stuff now, which is logging these actions. And I use a very, very complex software called Google Calendar. And I don't know if any of y'all heard of it, but it's easily like I've tested everything, Evernote, Notion. Like I remember just like finding like I would see a Twitter post of like some random like founder or something like that. And it was like, yeah, I've been most productive in my life as soon as I switched over to Notion. And like I would go spend like 8 hours setting up Notion, all these fancy templates and stuff like that. And then guess what would happen? Almost every time I would stop using it in like 3 days. So for me, something from a productivity app I need is simplicity and ease of use. If someone tells me something, I can just boom, Google Calendar, task, and like it's done. And there you go. It's on my to-do list. If I have to like use Notion, then it's like I gotta open up that app, I gotta like find a template. Then once I get to that template, I go create a new task, and like it's fucking complex. Also, the other thing is Google Calendar is free. I know we just been talking about like making hundreds of $1,000s a month, but like Google Calendar is fucking free. Like it costs you nothing to have it. So let's break this down. This is what my calendar looks like literally for next week. So let's go into this. I'm gonna break this up into 2 key things. And in fact, actually, I just want to show it to y'all like this. So first things first, this is my next week. This is what we're looking at next week. And we're gonna go over a lot of things here. So first off, I got my wake up and my bedtime. So wake up, this is the time that I do 30 minutes for wake up just because it usually takes me about 30 minutes to get out of bed. I like to wake up, stare at the ceiling, shit like that, get mentally ready for the day. And then like bedtime, that's my time for like shower, brush teeth, all that good stuff right there. And cool thing about all this is you can create what's called repeating events. You can even go like super custom in terms of like daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. And then like, it's pretty cool. You can even do like custom like days throughout the week as well. That's also really cool too. So we're like, it only repeats like I'm not boxing every Tuesday, Thursday. I have that event just to schedule like weekly on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I do another one that's just a separate event because it's do it a little bit later on like Saturdays and stuff like that. But yeah, so starting off, you have like your events and stuff like that. For me, if you're anyone that does calls and like you have to do sales calls, you have to do calls with like suppliers, different clients, things like that, I highly, highly, highly recommend no calls till after either 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. Because in the morning, this is where your peak mental flow is. And that peak mental flow will be good for your actions, your daily actions that we're going to talk about in a second here. And for calls for me, I don't want to waste that time. I love doing calls. Like I said, I just don't want to waste that energy on things like calls. And then that way, when I have to go do my key actions, I do them in the afternoon, and it's just like fucking brain dead to do those key actions right there. So I only do calls 1 to 4 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Thursday. That's it. I don't do calls outside of that. Unless it's something like a call with a financial advisor, like something like very, very one-off that I'll do from there. Next thing is I experimented with like leaving my calendar like super, super detailed, where it's like every minute almost, it's like broken down. Versus kind of leaving room for things to happen. I much prefer room for things to happen. So like when I wake up in the morning, this 7 a.m. to basically 1 p.m., this is literally where I'm taking full action on my key things right here. So my key action, my highest leverage key action is research. As mentioned, research, if I go do research, research creates ad ideas for me. Research creates basically like landing page ideas I want to test. Research creates offer ideas, AOV ideas, and product ideas. So as long as I go do the action and put myself in that environment, all of those ideas come naturally. Whereas where a lot of people fuck up at is they actually sit down and be like, okay, I need to write an ad. And they stare at a screen blank. It's just not going to happen. So what I like to do is I like to put myself in the environment. I like to put myself in the environment to create and breed the idea. So I always like to start off with research. And then like some days there'll be like different things. Like today I have like a lot of these other little to-do list items. So like next week, this is just more of like repeating events. I have a repeating event for learning, which right now I'm reading Breakthrough Advertising again. This is like a temporary event. I've been very inconsistent with like taking my vitamins my coach gives me. So I just added as an event real quick, and like literally to create an event, you just click right here, and instead of event, do task. And then it's just like, you know, test thing. And then here, repeat, you can do daily, weekly, monthly, annually, or custom. And then like you could do like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for example, and then save. There you go. And then now it's done on those things. I'm just gonna delete that real quick. Yeah, like literally I have a thing for trash because like my trash truck passes like every Tuesday. So like always do a task for Monday to like take out the trash, work out that day. That's every day. This is a temporary thing right now because I have really bad posterior shin splints right now on my right leg. So like I'm just temporarily right now doing some extra ankle mobility exercises and stuff like that for that. So yeah, so Fab, like research, that's the first thing I tackle pretty much. So I have pretty much from this time, from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., I have all that time to do research. I don't do research that full time. Like I don't stress myself and say I have to do research for 5 hours straight. I just usually generally start off the day with it because it's the highest like revenue driven thing I can possibly do for myself and my clients, my business, for you guys, all of those good things right there. So now I want to switch over to this. So this is like my to-do list for today, for example. So I use this as my daily to-do list as well. So it's not just like, hey, I set these recurrent events and that's it. I also use these as, you know, like a to-do list item. So like, for example, I just set up an account on Backstage. I'm testing this for like some new UGC ideas. So I got to check up for an approval on listing. My Facebook profile right now is banned, so I got to check up with support requests on that. I have a UGC creator I need to follow up with. Learn. I still need to do my research just because today I had a little bit more of like appointments and stuff like that. I have a VSL I need to review. I need to Coy's profile also got banned, so I got to send his profile as well to like meta support and stuff like that. So like I still use this as a to-do list on a day-to-day basis. So, and then, I mean, look, pretty much from now until 10 o'clock, I have all this time to do that key thing right there. So, yeah. And where a lot of people fuck up with Google Calendar as well, or just any type of organization calendar app, is one, they make it over complex. This is pretty simple right here in terms of how I have it set up. Also, too, on top of that, is you just have to start getting in the rhythm of checking it. Like I check my Google Calendar probably once an hour. If you're just getting started and you set up your Google Calendar, you get it all nice and neat how you like it, and then you just never use it again, what you have to start doing is literally set an alarm on your phone to like go off maybe once or twice a day that just says check Google Calendar. And once you start getting in the rhythm of actually checking the calendar and completing things on your to-do list, you know, that's also like another thing that gets me to take action, because I'm using this to complete and check off things on my to-do list. So like I'm constantly having to check it as I complete things and don't complete things and stuff like that. So that's also another reason why it actually gets me to actually go, you know, take a look at it basically. But yeah, so, and like I literally do like a lot of these things, like you know, like next week there's a movie I want to go watch that comes out. I recently started going to Bible study every Thursday, so I have like that as a task right now. I go to my cigar lounge every Saturday. Usually have a call with like one of my other mentors, boxing, cars and coffees don't even on there. Like I usually keep all of the things I consistently keep doing, that's my calendar. So that way it's like, okay, cool. Now, you know, if I need to go and like do something, okay, cool. Here's that time available. So, yeah, any questions around Google Calendar? It's pretty straightforward, but honestly, it's you know, it's very important. See, FabX, when is the biggest channel where you do research, Insta or TikTok? I mean, honestly, Fab, it's a 50-50 split between Insta, TikTok, YouTube, Reddit, digging through customer surveys. The thing with research is that I constantly want to be able to be agile depending on what I'm trying to learn. Depending on what I'm trying to learn, that's going to dictate what channel I use. You know, that's the big thing right there with that. Yeah, that's a great question, Marcus. So yeah, the tasks do transfer over Google Calendar. So like if you see right here, here's my to-do list for today. And then you'll see right here, one pending task. I have like, I do these teeth whitening trays every month on the first day. And I literally just have this as a repeating event monthly. And I just haven't been able to do my teeth whitening tray yet. So like that's still as a pending task. So like just to show y'all, like literally I have like AC filter, like make sure I change my AC filters in my house. I do let's see, what's another one? I have my investment. I don't know if it's on this one. I don't know why it's on this one. I should have my investment one. I just don't know why it's not popping up. Monthly financial report card. I have like a Google Doc or Google Sheet where like I track all my financials every month, personal financials, so I can see like my net worth growing, taxes, liabilities, all that good stuff right there. When do you normally write out your tasks? Just when they come to mind. It's like, you know, I don't understand people that like sit down, wait all day, then at the end of the night, okay, I'm gonna plan my day out for tomorrow. It's like, no, it's like, okay, cool. I know I need to do this thing. Boom, I go add it as a task. For example, before this call, I got a message about like my Facebook profile and stuff. So I literally went add those things here. Yesterday, while I was actively looking through content creators for a new client of ours, I went and added this task in. It's just, you just do it in real time. Because if you wait to do it at the end of the day, or you wait for a certain period of time, all it's going to do is just, you're going to forget about those things. So if a task pops up in your mind that you need to do, cool, just go add it to Google Calendar. And then there you go. You get it done. Very straightforward. And then just depending on what I have going on that day, that's going to dictate like how many actions I may keep on there and how many, you know, like maybe, okay, hey, you need to start moving some things over now, right? Like all this is pretty straightforward, easy things I could probably finish like in an hour. If that, well, maybe 2 hours is the research right there. But you know, like I wouldn't need to move anything over to like Saturday or Sunday right there. All right, cool. And then yeah, these are just like some other examples right here of other actions I've scheduled out. In terms of like monthly, daily, quarterly, you know, like research every day, workout every day. You know, there's some things here like financial report card monthly, invest into S&P 500 will be monthly. Blood work, I do this quarterly. So every quarter I have like a notification for like, hey, schedule out your blood work or like reach out to your trainer or your blood guy. Meeting with my CPA and financial advisor. I like to do one at least every 6 months. So where like we have to sit down, my CPA, my financial advisor, go over my financials and stuff, tax strategies, just anything that I may be unaware to and stuff like that. And like I said, you might have like temporary tasks. So like I mentioned, like there's a temporary task of like ankle mobility. Like this is not going to be a long-term task I do for the next 20 years, but this is just more of a short-term task because again, my vision for the future is not to have shitty ankles and like knees when I'm older. So like, you know, this is just a short-term task I'm taking on right now due to you know, just like I said, some heavy shin splints right now. All right, cool. We're gonna kind of quickly go through this. This is the kind of the last key thing here now, which is you going over your vision, you going over the actions, you've scheduled out those actions, and now we need to go deeper into how do you get the most out of those actions. So what I like to look at is I don't know if any of y'all play like, you know, Need for Speed, Grand Theft Auto, even like Call of Duty and stuff like that. Particular in like Need for Speed, each car has like different stats: top speed, acceleration, control, strength, durability. Like all of these things are key, what I would say, stats for that vehicle. And this is the thing. Every person has their own unique stats. There's some people I know that are extremely disciplined, and that's it. They're like the example of like a really fast car with no like being like you literally can just go fast and that's it. And then there's some people that have a good balance between all. This is the only difference of why some people can do like 7 figures a month and why some people still struggle to do 30K a month. It's not necessarily an ad problem. It's not necessarily a product problem. It's a personal problem. And this is where we go into your stats specifically. And these are the 4 that, you know, like you can have a lot of different stats in your life, but these are like the 4 that's gonna be more focused on like making money right here. Again, that's what a lot of y'all give a fuck about. So these are the 4 biggest ones that I've noticed that if you can have these 4 things, it's going to give you a significantly higher advantage of making more money than the average person. So number 1 is discipline. And what I'm going to rephrase all of these with, you're not disciplined until you have to be disciplined. So you are none of these stats until you actually have to be that thing. So for example, let's say your key action is to hit the gym every day, but you just work 12 hours. It's raining outside. You haven't eaten all day. And it's one of your daily actions is to hit the gym. Are you disciplined if you skip the gym? Or are you disciplined because you hit the gyms anyway? You're only disciplined when you have to be disciplined. And if you're a disciplined person, you're going to hit the gym anyway. But if you're not a disciplined person, you're going to skip the gym. Same thing right here for those who are, you know, sending out video pitches, those who are like creating new ads weekly. There's some of y'all I talk to and you're like, I haven't tested a new ad in a month. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You want to grow the business at all or what? Like, so you have to be disciplined. That's why I rather, another really good book around discipline is Atomic Habits. And one of the key things about Atomic Habits is like start off with a smaller part of that action and then expand on it. So for example, if you want to go to the gym every day, Atomic Habits talks about like literally pull up to the gym parking lot every day and then leave. Don't even have to get out of your car. Then the next week, pull up to the gym every day, scan your key tag, then walk out. Then the next week, pull up to the gym every day, scan your T tag, and then go walk on the treadmill for like 10 minutes. And then that's it. Then the following week, pull up to the gym, scan your key tag, walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes, and then go do like a set of biceps. And you just keep building up on that habit, but you can never go back. So when a lot of y'all are like starting from 0 and they're like, I'm gonna test 100 creatives this week, they're not fucking disciplined because they do it for 1 week and then they stop and they never do it again. It's acting more out of extremes, and that's not what we want. We want marathons. We want long-term things. So I'd rather y'all test 3 ads a week because it's disciplined and consistent with, than y'all test 100 ads in a week and then never touch it again. Because then you don't allow for time to happen and time for new ideas to come to the table and time for you to grow as a person mentally. Now, next one we're going to talk about is intentional. You're not intentional until you have to be intentional. Let's say one of your key actions is create a Facebook ad every day. Every day you want to write a Facebook ad. That's one of your key actions. But one particular day, you have a lot of stuff on your plate. You know, you have a big fat to-do list on your Google Calendar now that you just set it up. And instead of like really taking your time to write in a Facebook ad properly, you spend 60 seconds, open up a Google Doc, write some random shit, and then send it off to your editing team. Was that being intentional? Or were you just doing the thing to complete the thing? Or were you doing the thing to actually get a result out of it? It's also another great example here is the gym. You know, there's people that are disciplined their whole life with going to the gym every single day, and they look terrible. They look like they've never stepped a foot in the gym. And there's other people that will literally go to the gym once, twice a week and like swole as fuck. Obviously, there's some genetics there, but it's also intentional. When they go to the gym, they push themselves hard every set. They use significantly heavier weight and they really push themselves. Whereas the other person, he's disciplined and goes to the gym every day, but he doesn't push himself. So intentional is a huge difference right here. Now, next one is patient. And I'm going to kind of make a couple different examples for y'all. You're not patient until you have to be patient. And since this is also kind of an overall vision call, we can kind of hop into another part of the life. Your vision is to find a wife / husband, you know, because I know there's some women on this call too as well. Your goal is to find a marriage partner. And there's a particular person that steps in your life with a bunch of red flags, but wants to be with you. Now, here's where you can either go with that person just to speed up the process of accomplishing the goal of having someone, but you know they're not the right person. They're full of red flags and stuff like that. You know it won't last. It's not the long-term vision you have because you don't want just someone. You want someone you can be with for a long time. Or you can be patient, push this person away now because you know they will not work, and be patient in the long-term picture that the right person will come. And that's where, again, you're not patient, so you have to be patient because most people, I've even done it before, where it's like, oh, hey, like I'll much be with this person now because at least I'll be with someone versus actually being patient and find the right person. And guess what? All of those people that are newer red flags, but I could at least be with someone, none of them are in my life right now because they weren't meant to be my life anyway. They were just meant to my life to teach me the lesson. And the lesson will continue to showcase in your life until you learned it and don't make that lesson don't make that mistake again. Same thing with Facebook ads. Go back to patience. I had one particular student the other day hop on a call with me and like literally freaking out because like over 3 days, this particular student tested like 50 different New Year's ads and none of them worked. I was like, well, yeah, like it's 3 days after Christmas. Give it some time. Be patient. You don't have an ad problem right now. You have a patience problem right now. Sometimes with ads, we want it instantly. When we see these money Twitter posts of Shopify screenshots and case studies, we feel like everyone's achieving something that you're not. And it makes you more eager. And what happens when you're more eager? You make dumb mistakes. This particular student, after reviewing their creatives, even came to me and realized, hey, Nick, I just reviewed all those creatives I tested over this couple of days, and I realized a lot of them weren't even good creatives. They had a lot of mistakes in them. That's why I'm not a fan of testing a ton of creatives at once, because the more creatives you test and the eagerness is where mistakes happen. So I'd rather be patient and build the right things that maybe take me a little bit longer to achieve that success, but it builds it the long term that actually achieves what I want. All right. Next one. Curiosity. This is the last one right here. You're not curious until you have to be curious. So let's just say, for example, one of your quarterly actions, not your daily, not your weekly, your quarterly actions is to launch a new product for your store. And you just sit down, you throw a random product idea and launch it. Are you being curious? Or are you spending time digging deep into what is it exactly my customer wants? Again, a curious person is a person that's going to ask the questions. And being a great marketer comes down to the questions you ask yourself consistently. Your curiosity to learn about the customer that you're looking for. If you want to market to someone, and me and you both know that the level of which you create that ad is the level of which, or the level of which you know that person is the level of which the ad you can create. The only way you can get to know someone is being curious about that person. This is why we love meeting new people. New people means it's like you're meeting a totally new person. You can be curiosity. You can be curious. And that's one thing that sometimes will happen with like old friends or like friends you see often, is that you lose that ability to be curious about that person because you see him so often. So sometimes we have to like pretend, hey, if this was a completely new person I just met, how would I treat them? And that can also bring the fun back to it and the things and the questions and stuff like you would ask that person. But from a marketer perspective, curiosity is extremely important. And the people that are not genuinely curious about their audience are the people that make the worst ads, the worst content. Whereas the people that are actually genuinely curious about their audience, of what they want to see, what they react to, what pain points they have, what their desires are, these are the people that make the best ads and the best content right here, because they're genuinely curious and digging deep into it. Now, just like going to the gym, the more reps you put in, the stronger you get. So the more you put intention behind these stats, is the better they'll get. I can tell y'all right now that y'all are aware of these stats and these like as a personal characteristics about who you are as a person, now you're going to start realizing, oh, fuck, I'm not disciplined in this area of my life, or I'm not really being intentional right now. You know, like those are key things right there that you have to look at. How will, I think there's a few married people in this call tonight. Will you be intentional with your wife or your husband after this call and like actually sit down and focus with them? Or will you just sit there and scroll on your phone while they're talking to you? The person that goes and like researches after this call, are you gonna be genuinely curious about your audience that you're marketing to? Or will you just throw some random shit together just to get the action done real quick? These are all key things right there you have to start thinking about. And again, there will be some stats that like these are just like a base level of stats, because this call would literally be 5 hours long if we dive into every stat. But if you see other stats that other people have, like let's say, for example, you want to be a better leader and you see someone with really good leadership ability, skill set, then here you want to look at it from the perspective of, one, can I hop on a call and start talking to that person? Like that's the quickest way. If you see someone with a stat you admire and you want to learn more about, just fucking talk to that person. How'd you develop your leadership? How'd you develop your discipline? That's the fastest way. Then you can also read like books. You can watch YouTube videos. And then the last one is just actually practicing those actions. If you see a lot of great leaders and you learn from great leaders, but you don't actually start to practice those things, well, guess what? You'll never become a great leader because you're not actually practicing those things. These are just the last quick little things real quick. I'm just going to scroll through this real quick because I know it's about time for everyone to hop out. The key to master every skill set, learn, reps, and review. So let's just say, for example, you learned how to write a hook. The next thing is you want to go put 100 reps in, and then you want to actually review that. So great example. This is why I love doing like other things that force me to get out of my comfort zone, because it allows me to relive experiences. And for me was boxing, because it allowed me to start from zero again. Whereas like Facebook ads, I spent the last decade, whereas boxing, I've only spent the last 3 years on it. So with boxing, it allowed me to go back to day one of not knowing anything, and allowed me to better understand how people are when it comes down to Facebook ads, and allowed me to make my content better, because now I get to better understand their situation when they get exposed to my content, and how I felt when I was, day one in boxing again, because I kind of completely forgot how I felt when I was day one in Facebook ads. And favorite thing about boxing is that, like, all right, cool, here's how to throw a jab. I'm going to learn how to throw a jab. I'm going to go throw 100 jabs, and then I'm going to sit there and get reviewed by my coach. And I'm going to sit there and get reviewed by myself. Like, I'm actually going to watch my review, my video footage and all that stuff like that. You guys, same thing. I'm quote unquote your coach. And that's why you're always sitting over creatives to be reviewed, ads to be reviewed, and stuff like that. I'm the one that's doing that review for you and giving you that critical feedback. And again, putting those reps in as well. If I show you how to make a Facebook ad, you're going to go write 100 Facebook ads and put those reps in, because you can't actually master that skill set until you put the reps in and get the critical feedback. That's when you can start mastering a skill set. And then just to kind of go over like the 10,000 hour rule, this is I don't really like completely agree with it, but I think it's a really good thing to aim for. And there's a particular skill set you want to master. There's this idea that you need to do it for at least 10,000 hours. And if we go look at our Google Calendar, for example, and you schedule out 1 hour a day of writing ads. So 1 hour a day times 260 work days is 260 hours a year of you spending time writing ads. That means it would take you 38 years to hit that 10,000 hour rule. 38 years of writing 1 hour a day of writing ads before you master that skill set. Versus, let's say you spend 8 hours a day writing Facebook ads. That's 260 work days. That's 2,080 hours a year. That comes out to 4.8 years to master writing ads. So there's certain things in life that we're going to prioritize over other things. So like, let me give you a great example. I use boxing versus like learning Facebook ads. Like, I spend 6 to 8 hours a day around Facebook ads every day. Consumer psychology, copywriting, coaching, all of that stuff. I spend 6 to 8 hours every day on that. And I've done that for the last 6 years now, all in. And that's who you see now as a result of that. Whereas like, boxing, I only spend 3 hours a week on it. That's at the end of the year, that's 150 hours a year. That, I mean, would literally take me almost like 70 years to master at this current rate right now. But I'm okay with that, because that's not the priority. I love it. I have fun with it. But for the amount of work I would need to put into it to achieve something, it just makes zero sense for me, because there's already something I'm achieving outside of that. So there's certain skill sets we have in life that we're going to put more intention behind building versus others. And that's totally okay. You don't need to spend 8 hours a day on writing ads, 8 hours a day of doing something else, and 8 hours of doing something else. You just need to have that one thing that you primarily focus on and master. That's going to get you to that level you want to go. And then I already kind of mentioned this. My highest leverage action of 2025, my main action that I'm prioritizing in 2025 is research. And why is because every time I do research, this is what allows me to get my ad ideas, my landing page ideas, my offer ideas, my product ideas, all of those things right there. So as long as I do my research, all of these things come naturally. And as long as I do that every day, I'm gonna be consistently in the loop of what's working the best and all those good things. That's gonna give me better results for my clients. It's going to give me better things to give to you guys. It's going to give me better content, and it's also going to give me better clients and students from that content. So everything kind of revolves around that particular key action right there. So this is the action that I'm focusing on in 2025. That's my highest leverage thing. It's my highest possible thing I can do that's going to make me the most money if we start looking at byproducts of actions and stuff like that. If you run an agency, I'm just doing one client a day. So one client a day, I'll spend a bunch of time researching, and then I'll go write out whatever that comes from it right there. So, and then it's just kind of just like I said, it puts yourself in a place that the ideas come to you versus you trying to force the ideas. And like I mentioned earlier, the level of which you know your audience is the level of ads you can write. You spend 8 hours researching, you might write a pretty decent ad. If you spend 30 hours researching an audience, you'll write a pretty fat stack in terms of the level of ads you write. And then, like I said, research, you want to put all that on your calendar. And then that way it's an actual actionable item you complete. And then just make sure you spend discipline, intentional curiosity. You're applying those stats and you're working on those stats to improve yourself further. And then to close out for today, here's your homework for y'all. If y'all want to screenshot this, review this call, whatever, take 30 minutes after this call. You know, whether you do it right after the call, I'm sure all y'all are probably brain dead right now. I don't know if I can tell by my voice. I'm about to hit my limit right now too. So I'm sure you're gonna like probably break off, get some food, and kind of chill out for a bit. But whether you do it tonight, whether you do it this weekend, you know, spend some time and really start to develop that 20-year vision. If you're married, you have a husband, or if you have a wife, that's a great opportunity to also have that conversation with them if you haven't already. Because that also might reveal things that you may be completely unaware of. You know, maybe you like you sit down and have that 20-year vision, and your wife is like, yeah, I want to live in a small farm with zero internet access, and you're like, yo, I want to live in Dubai in a penthouse. That's gonna be a tough conversation right there. But have fun with it, right? Like that's the goal with this. Have fun with it, but also start taking it seriously. And for those who feel like they're gonna do this once and never look at it again, guess what? Set you a motherfucking calendar task on your thing. You know, whether you spend like literally 30 seconds a day of reviewing my vision for the next 20 years. That's it. It can be so simple, but calendar tasks are huge. And then those stats is what gets them achieved. Then what I want y'all to do after you spend the next, you know, let's spend 30 minutes to an hour reviewing that vision. I really want y'all to sit down and think about what would a weekend day look like? You know, it's 20 years from now. I'll be, like I said, I'll be 48 years old. 48 years old, it's a Saturday morning. What would that day look like? And then 20 years from today, like I said, I'll be 48 years old and it's a weekday. It's like a Wednesday. What would that day look like? What would I do on a Wednesday? What would I look like? What would I do on a Saturday? That way you get to see both. You get to see both like a weekend, because generally speaking, people would actually write this out as like a weekend day, where it's just like a fun travel fuck off day. And that's what they look at their life. But in reality, it's probably not that. So do a weekday and a weekend day. And then next thing is start looking at what are those actions you need to do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, even yearly that need to happen to put them on your calendar. If you don't know what those actions need to be, this is where we can start diving into a one-on-one calls right here, where you do your vision and you have no fucking clue of how you're going to achieve that. Great opportunity for a one-on-one call for us to dive into. For me, it's just breaking it down one level at a time. like I mentioned earlier, your vision now becomes your North Star. What guides you in life by decisions you make now? If I want $100 million invested, will I be playing Call of Duty 8 hours a day now, starting now? Fuck no. If I want $100 million invested and I need to invest $115,000 a month starting now, will I go open up a detailing business where I hand wash the cars myself and hire no one? No, there's just no way I would make enough money. Would I go scale up a couple clients to 100K a month payouts for the agency? Fuck yeah. That's definitely going to do it. If I'm going to scale my ecom brand, maybe I need to scale my ecom brand to 300K a month profit, and that's what allows me to invest 115K a month, then yeah, there you go. It starts to become your, not just your North Star, but also to your thing that, like, you know, it kind of like your filter for life as well. If I want a wife and kids, will I keep entertaining the girl that does not want wife and or doesn't want to be married, doesn't want kids, and like literally is like an Instagram like OF influencer? Like, no, probably not. If my vision's to be ripped with abs and bench 225, will I skip the gym today? Probably not. So again, all of your vision, your long-term vision is with the sides your actions today. And those actions at the end of the day is what you ask yourself, if I continue to live today every day, would I achieve my vision if I lived every day today? If not, something needs to change. And look at the bad habits and the good things. And then, like I said, self-reflect on your current stats as well. I went over those stats, like the car and stuff, discipline, curiosity, and all that stuff. Self-reflect on those and look for room for improvement. A lot of y'all think y'all disciplined, and then when you're actually faced needing to be disciplined, you're not disciplined at all. So start diving into all that as well. All right, cool. Let me check the chat. I see there's quite a few questions. John, join this call. Drop a one in the chat or a W in the chat if you enjoyed this call. This is literally like 10 years worth of self-development in one call. So I've probably spent over 200K just in coaches and stuff like that to develop this. Okay, cool. Let me just kind of read through this real quick before we hop out. Yeah, Albert, message me in the inner circle chat, in the group chat for the financial report card, and I'll send that template for y'all. It's not even a template right now. I just need to like obviously remove all my financial data, and then I'll send y'all over the Google Sheet. Sweet. Jake asks, do you recommend creating a vision board? I think vision boards are great. If you go spend your time first doing the health, wealth, and love aspect right here for the next 20 years, then you can also do a vision of that next 20 years thing. I think the only thing I didn't like about a vision board is that when you first start doing this, is you're going to be consistently kind of updating it. So you might go spend a whole night creating your vision board if you're going to like make a physical one, and then like a month later, because you spent a whole month intentionally thinking about your 20-year vision, then all of a sudden it's completely different. And like you got to spend a whole nother night like making a whole new board. So I do like the vision board. I like it when it's done more like an Adobe Photoshop or Canva, where you can quickly do it. And then you can also make updates to it where like I said, a lot of people like to do those physical vision boards. And then within a month, it's like outdated. So Google Doc is phenomenal for me. Let's see. Jen also has a 42-year-old. I got to get it together. Great wake-up call, Jen. If you feel like there's some things you need to change in your life, this is a great opportunity right here to start think about that long-term now. You know, obviously, if for the people that are, you know, just like I said, older and you know, a little bit more like wisdom and experience more things in life. And if they're not, you know, if they're getting closer to that age, they want to retire and stuff like that, and it's not where they want to be, this is like a great wake-up call right here. Do you need to align beliefs with this vision? Yeah. So it's like, if you want to be, you know, for example, if you want to have $100 million invested, right? And you have terrible money beliefs right now, then yeah, you need to change those beliefs to acquire that vision. Like, let's just say, for example, a lot of people, I know people that are very, very scared to invest money because they're so scared of losing money. They're so scared of losing money, they will not invest money. And y'all saw the math right there. I could just save money in a savings account and I would have 32 million in like by the time I'm 50. Or I can invest the money and by the time I'm 50, I could have 100 million. So, all right, cool. George said we're going to do a one-on-one together on this. Awesome. Sam Ovens says you aren't capable of achieving your goals. Yeah, Sam Ovens has some videos on this. It's like alchemy or something like that. This goes 10 times deeper into it. Best time to start now. That is 100% correct. Marcus asks, has there been a method that works for you around beliefs to change them? So, you know what's funny is that as an advertiser, you're highly responsible for belief management as an advertiser. So when you run Facebook ads, sometimes there'll be negative belief towards your industry, your product, or your ad itself. And the best way to change beliefs is through logic, and is through data, and it's through authority. So, for example, if like I told you eating a fucking banana a day keeps the doctor away, that's something. But like if an actual official like doctor told you if you eat a banana a day, it like keeps the doctor away, like like you'll take it more seriously because it's actual official doctor right there. Logic is a great one. So like for me, I always had bad like flight anxiety. Just like literally just scared of like, holy fuck, this plane's gonna crash. So like for me, just understanding the data of like the number of like people that actually die in commercial jetliners, specifically in the USA, that was a big one for me. And actually understanding how a plane works. And now it just made me want to like get my pilot's license now. So just understanding how things works and how that belief just doesn't work. Talking to someone of authority of why that's a bad belief. And then the last thing is just more of like a mental thing where every time you catch yourself with that belief, you just don't believe it, right? So, if you have this certain belief, like for example, red pill society has made women look like terrible. Like every woman is just like an Instagram girl, clout chasing, stuff like that. That's the problem with red pill society when it comes down to like money, Twitter, and stuff like that. And if you spend too much time like on red pill Twitter, if you spend too much time like watching a fuckload of like Andrew Tate's videos and stuff like that, you're gonna believe the same thing. And the same way you created that belief is the same way you can get rid of a belief as well. So if you go and look at, oh, okay, hey, like, Andrew Tate saying all the women want this, blah, blah, blah. But then if you go look like how many people are married, how many people are successful in those marriages and happy and stuff like that. Then it's like, oh, wait, that's a false belief right there. And then you go dive deeper and it's like, oh, well, yeah, that they're making out that these particular women are bad, but then look at the women that bring it on the podcast. It's like girls from, Miami who are these things, but there's a very, very few people right there. So it's like just right there. It's like just understanding the belief and diving a little bit deeper actually can help it out a lot right there too. So a lot of people have negative belief around investing money. You see enough people that are successful with investing money, then it's like, oh wait, that's not a bad thing. I mean, Marcus, just for like this perspective, you know how many people think courses and like coaching groups are scams? Like, does any of y'all feel like my inner circle is a scam? Like that right there proved to you like, oh fuck, like that's not a scam right there, right? So like that's the thing right there. Sometimes you just have to like actually experiencing a belief right there for yourself, and that right there proves too that that's just like, wait, this is the wrong belief, right? I remember I used to have a terrible belief that like talking to strangers, like strangers would just like freak out on me and like be upset with me for talking to them. And then I went and talked to like 100 strangers in just one weekend and forced myself to get out of my comfort zone. And like, not a single thing I thought would happen happened. Like, and still has never happened since then. Now, like every time I go somewhere, like I'm talking to like everyone, depending on what type of mood I am, because I'm a very introverted extrovert. I have my moods where I'm like very extroverted. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, and I'm not talking to anyone. So, but yeah, so that's just a couple things around their own beliefs. All right. Any last questions before we hop out? And then I'll post a recording for y'all. All right, cool. Anyone who needs a one-on-one call or anything like that, make sure y'all schedule them because January's starting to book up fast. So if you need a one-on-one call, especially after this call, book them up. And yeah, y'all have yourselves a good weekend. If y'all have any other questions around this, drop them in the chat. Give me about 2 or 3 hours and I'll have this recording in the chat. So it's gonna be a long one. This is probably the longest call we ever did. Y'all have a good one, guys and ladies. Have a good weekend. Be safe.